Futures mostly lower here in pre-market trading this morning, looking to snap a 3-session winning streak that we have going into the end of the week. It's setting up to be the best week for the S&P 500 in more than a year. The move lower comes as markets continue to monitor the latest developments out of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. We're also anticipating this call between Biden and China's Xi Jinping coming up later this morning, where they will discuss the Russian-Ukraine conflict. So markets very sensitive to that. We'll monitor that when it does come across. Overall, the market, though, nice bounce back off of the Fed on Tuesday and Wednesday this week. We obviously get the interest rate hike that everyone was anticipating, and stocks seem to be okay with that heading into the weekend. Individually this morning, GME shares down sharply off earnings. We'll have a look at GameStop. Not a good report for them. They didn't even guide anything, so we'll talk about GME coming up here. FedEx reported that StoneCo, STNE, higher this morning, a Kathy Wood name off a decent report for them. It's Friday, March 18th, 2022. TraderTV.live starts now. There we go. Look at where we're at right now. Red numbers across the board. Could be a lot worse at this point, though. 0.7 for the NASDAQ there leading the way. 0.62 for the S&P, the Dow about 0.5% at this point. TSX futures here in Toronto, 0.82 to the downside. We are coming off, though, a pretty impressive day right across the board for everything yesterday. Crude oil back in negative territory ever so slightly as well. Same story for cryptocurrency is pretty quiet overall right across the board. Past couple of days, we've seen amazing moves in oil markets in the pre-market. Not so much today. Maybe, even oil markets, guys, anticipating this call coming up later this morning, again, between Biden and Xi Jinping. Good morning, guys. We are finally at Friday. What a week it's been. Much anticipated week has come and gone. And as I said, stocks seem to have rebounded nicely.
Yeah, it's about as good a week as you're going to get in the market, especially, the recent pullback we've had, and you get the Fed coming through, and then you get an up week, which it looks like we're going to end on barring something crazy happening. But I will say this, because I'm in this PIK, but I was saying in the chat that there's 2 stops you could put, high day and 590. I'm going with the 590, because this channel that it's holding, it's strong, and it feels like, despite the fact it was able to scalp some out for a win, it does feel like it's a bracket breaker or buster breaking out of this bracket, because
where's your mind at, bro?
Because my bracket's already busted as usual.
No,
look, man, everybody lost Kentucky. I get that.
Right.
That's fine. I mean, a lot of people lost UConn, but not everyone had. I didn't think Iowa was that good, but I'm a Big Ten homer, and so if you win the Big Ten, I'm putting you through 2 rounds. Pretty much every single time my bracket has that same feeling.
They're a 5 seed, so I don't think you're alone. I wouldn't say.
Oh well, I mean, either way, that's.
You're not going perfect.
I'm clearly not going perfect. Yeah, you Kentucky fans.
Does Warren Buffett still offer that? Remember there was, he was, like $1 million for like a perfect bracket or something?
Which isn't even that. Yeah, it was him.
I don't know if they do that anymore.
I don't think.
Like sponsored by.
I haven't heard anything about that in the last 5 years or so. But either way, you're not getting a perfect bracket.
And then we lost Devontae Adams. But you don't mind it.
You said it.
I don't know. So
that's a lot of money.
As my minority owner, I was a little disappointed that I wasn't consulted with this decision, but anyways, sad day for Green Bay Packer fans. But hey, look, we got a first and a second, and let's see, we'll probably draft a quarterback in the first just to piss off Aaron Rodgers again, and that'll be funny. No, we're not going to do that. But anyways,
I'm willing to bet that they draft a wide receiver.
Yeah, I think for sure, it's supposed to be a nice, talented crop, and we're getting ready to rock and roll. We welcome Fahad to the show today. Should be a fun one, and on the 1s and 2s. So it's not Randy screwing up today. It'll be Fahad if he gets on there, but Lucas is training up, and hey, we're growing, guys. Like the second desk is basically ready. I don't know. I'm just waiting for the update on this one. Monday. Okay.
Is it really
there
Monday?
You go. There you go.
Sweet.
Brad, Miss V will be on the second desk, and it should be a lot of fun. And there's lots of stuff to do today, man. I mean, we got to get to it. The sticky note is out. Affirm's on there. SoFi's on there. Rivian, Facebook was a monster yesterday. You guys saw that move in the afternoon where we were short. But look, it's Friday. It's quad witching. It's gonna be a spicy one, man. The third Friday of March, always a lot of action on the close. And I'll show you some stuff on Toronto. There's already 8-9 million shares on some of these bids already of some of the bank stocks. So it's gonna be a fun one, Brendo. It's Friday, and let's get this party started.
Yeah, big index changes to come. We're very happy, guys. Welcome to Fahad, brand new team member here, as we said. Growing, lots of new things to come as soon as next week. And yeah, Randy with a much-deserved day off. Let's bring in Miss V to start things off. Good morning.
Good morning, team. Happy Friday to you all. I wish you a wonderful, profitable trading day. Please smash the like button and let's get it started, Brendan.
Yeah, let's jump right into a few things to understand as we head towards the open this morning, guys. We had markets back higher again for the third day in a row yesterday. A little bit of a dip here in the pre-market as we head towards the weekend, but still on pace. The S&P still on pace for its best week in more than a year, which is saying a lot as, the start of this year at least has been pretty negative. So can we hold, and what do we need to see, I guess, right across the board here to kind of suggest that we may hold some of these gains heading into the weekend?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I'd like to see. There was some weird things that happened yesterday, like AMD ridiculously weak. Maybe that's not the right word. Just surprisingly weak. Some of the moves that happened in the afternoon, which were somewhat impressive, and some names just lagged it a little bit. Now, what I kind of want to see here is, obviously, you've got the headline risk of the call that you mentioned. So the first things first, we have to get through that without anything disastrous. But on the NASDAQ in particular, you can kind of just look at what was the previous week high. Like, everyone will look at that 14,000 number, right? But ultimately, if you hold this, I think we've held up pretty well. Like, you can break 14,000 on the NASDAQ, and it's not necessarily yet doom and gloom, because you can still be above yesterday's support and the previous high, which is about 13.8. Ideally, you'd love to be breaking out from this level. That's fine. But ultimately, if you end a week like this with quad witching, the volatility we've had in this market, if you end that week positive on the week, holding the gains without there being like some kind of a 2% down or 2.5% down day, like, that's a victory in this market, right? But a lot of times you'll have a few days and then a few days of winning and then a bit of a pullback to correct it. So if we close even like down 0.1 on the NASDAQ, I would consider that a pretty solid sign here today. And there's a few names that look relatively weak that I feel like have come too far and look like they're obvious shorts today. And some that are, a couple of dollars away from that price or a couple of points away from prices like that. And that's what I'm seeing. There's overhead resistance on a lot of names that I'm watching.
According to Henry, today is Palantir Day, but every day is Palantir Day, according to Henry. Look, if you were with us a week ago today, I said this market's going to rally into Fed. And I thought it might stop yesterday. It didn't. So we've had a nice little bump up here in the NASDAQ. And to me, it was expected. But that doesn't mean that everything is solved by any stretch of the imagination. It's great because we have Michael Noss coming up from Trade Ideas. He's going to have some ideas to throw at you. And, trading-wise, maybe we can ask him about the market a little bit as well if he has any ideas on there. I know he's very fixed on what he wants to talk about. But you're getting close to that 50 period. This is the NASDAQ 100, right? It's triple Qs. So you're getting real close to that 50 period. Again, we take that out. And like I said, I feel like there's a certain premium that's in here. Like, this is Feb 17th. I almost want to think about when this whole Russia talk, but when it started to get ramped up here, because I feel like a lot of this move, like, we've already baked in the interest rates, we know about inflation, we know the whole story, and I feel like that's something that is almost in the rear view. And I know I don't think inflation's in the rear view or interest rate adjustments they're coming, right? The increases are coming. There's 7-8 more to come. So the target rate 2.8%. This is going higher. Interest rate and inflation, I think, is going lower. So I just feel like if we can get through all of this here, like the war premium that's to the downside right now, then I think the NASDAQ can retrace back up. And honestly, I don't see a reason why we can't get back to all-time highs by the end of the year. And I know that's maybe a bold call. People aren't really expecting that, but I feel like we can do that. Get through this 50 period, break 350 on the Qs, and we're ready to rock and roll. So, hey, maybe I am too bullish, but I feel like the market does have some room to run still to the north side.
When it comes to the overall economy, one stock that can be looked at from time to time as a bit of a bellwether out with earnings, guys, FedEx is who I'm referring to. Here's one of, I think, 4 or 5 I counted this morning, price target changes. Wells Fargo to the downside, 277 to 314. So FedEx blaming inflation, blaming supply chain for not a great quarter. We are down here 2.8%, but I mean, the reaction aftermarket, back and forth for FedEx, not a lot of volume here either.
No, not really. And part of FedEx's problem, not to get too deep into it, but FedEx, their best segment, just in terms of where they make their margins, is on ground, and that's their smallest one. So the thing that you do best, you do the least of. That can usually be a bit of a problem, and it's probably at a price that it makes some sense. And I guess if it gets down to 200, my daily chart doesn't want to load. Oh, I just have to stick to the 15-minute chart, pull it back a little bit further. It's probably within spitting distance of a support level that you got to like that 200 bottom. It's both psychological, and then that last week, the double bottom, you've held a higher low. So you were running decently into that earnings, and I guess that's why it had to be a little bit perfect. I'd probably like the stock if it was in the 200 range. I don't see a trade today at all. Personally on FedEx. It would have to get to at least 208, 210, and then just say, okay, well, if the market's screaming down, it probably should find a little bit of support there. There's no volume on the name overall, and there were some things in the quarter that weren't exactly fantastic, just at a cursory look at it. But the nice double bottom at 200, those are the kind of things you want to look back to. You remember the first couple of times things like Square would get to those prices, and it's a good psychological level. I just don't think we're seeing it here today. On a red day, if we have a red day, right now the market's slightly down. If we continue to have a red day, there are other names that I would want to be trying to pick up here on dips more than a FedEx. Show me something that reported well and then falls today, and I think that's a better place to go hunting if we get a down day.
Yeah, I didn't put too much work into FedEx. I mean, it's done 42,000 shares. It is trying to break down. We talked about some of the pre-market levels on the show yesterday. You do have this 219. We're just going to see what the day is. You did have this up and down move, and this is what I'm talking about with earnings. Even though you're down 2%, you have no idea where this is going to go. Machines came in, hit this thing to 237, and then a minute later hit it down to 218. So, you're going to have to watch out where this trades off the open. If you take out this 230 level, though, if it gets back going here and they're nope, wrong way, you could get a nice break here, 230 up to some of these levels, 234, 235. So I kind of want to do that same play where it flushes or rips off the open. In this situation, I'd be looking for a move back up here and then a flush back down because, again, it's a negative print. So, someone who's knows a little bit more about this than I do. We're still 50,000 shares. It's not heavy trading, but again, a little swoop up into here, 230, maybe gets flushed back in. So no trades for FedEx at all. I would wait for it to either it's a dramatic move down or back to the upside. I would wait for one of those moves and then fade one of them. Either go long if it's a big dip or fade that high of 236.
Bring in Michael Noss here from Trade Ideas in a second. Before we do that, guys, wanted to just touch on some of the Chinese stocks. Once again, wild week, obviously, for the Alibabas, the JD.coms of the world. A little more quiet today, but another group that you kind of have to have in your back pocket again today.
Yeah. I looked at Alibaba a lot over the last little while. Baba and Neo, I know Neo, but Neil was on. Yeah, that's the problem.
I love it.
Yeah, we've done that a couple times. Neil was on PDD and a few other names yesterday, but for me it was Alibaba. I don't think, I was going to say my trades aren't showing up, but we hit the longs yesterday. We were looking at 96 broke and we got out, and that was the very, very bottom. And that's going to happen sometimes when we hit the very bottom and then it rips to 100, but at least we identified that. So on some kind of a drop here today you might not think it can go, but just based on how Bob was working, yesterday, look where we opened yesterday. The same prices, man. We opened at even higher. Yesterday's open 101, 105, 102, 100, right? That's right where we are today. And then an immediate, within the first 5 minutes, drop down to 97. This was beautiful. Hit this in. This is a $3 winner in the first 5 minutes, right? And so we talked about this yesterday as well. Scalp out a bit, right? I like to scalp out a bit, hold for that monster, get the monster, hold a little bit again, and then unfortunately we wound up getting out there. And then this was the last shot in the morning. It wasn't even the morning, it was right at 11 o'clock when we came back down to that 96, took a little bit out, half out for profit, or maybe it was a third out for profit, and then lost on the last 2/3 or the last 3/4, whatever it was. Still, profitable name for BABA, and then back and forth here. I don't know what we were doing here at 1 o'clock, but back and forth there, then nothing in the afternoon. So I like BABA dropping back in. We'll look at NEO as well. So I think we still protect this 96 area. Let's see if that comes through. We'll put some bids down there and see if we can get one of those dip buys into 96. This time, if it breaks 96, I'm going to give it to at least this 95, because yesterday it broke and we got wicked out right there. And it's not that we got wicked out, that was our level and it broke, so we got out. But today we'll see if we can hold that down to 95, but I'm a buyer of Alibaba at 96, and we'll talk about NEO a little bit later.
For sure. Quickly, Pinduoduo, it's weird that we're looking at the same prices possibly as yesterday, because sometimes this doesn't work twice, but that 41 to 42 area was open fade. And we're right back at 39.5. So there's a chance on the spike we could get the same trade. Not a lot of volume. Like, keep in mind, coming into yesterday, you had the ridiculous gap up and super strong move in all those Chinese names. It's not the same environment. There's no volume. It's flat. So it's not at the top of my radar. But two things I'll get to. I'm going to get to PIK in a second, but I want to say Squanchy. I still love the name, but no squanching Squanchy. I love that name in the chat. If you put an interesting one out there that has a nerd tinge to it, I'm a huge Rick and Morty's fan. That PIK, I opened the show saying, look, I agree with the consolidation. I think you could have been long or short in that consolidation looking for a break in either direction, and it could be good because you could have been long off of like the low 70s or high 60s with a tight stop at like 60, looking for it to scalp some out for like 10, 15 cents, and then hold the rest to a high, hold the final third to a high break. Or you could play it the other way. You could short it, same thing, first third out at the bottom of the range, take the next out in front of 50s, and then the next leg out to 20s to 30s. It's the same trade in either direction off of consolidation, or you can just maybe do a breakout trade in either direction. So I picked a short because it's already gapped up and then it had a double top. Like, this is it. Like, it gapped up, put this same move on. This was the afternoon short that we had on PIK, and that worked. So I'm like, okay, well, if it worked in the afternoon, then maybe it'll work here. I'm already bidding out. You can kind of see, like, we got the next leg out, and this is at 540 top. That you had like almost like a quadruple top if you include the aftermarket, and we'll hold on to a little bit to see if it can flush down into $5. Someone asked where I'd be long the stock. It would have had to clear through that 6/4 or find support back at 450. Like, nothing too, in the pre-market, nothing too complicated, right? Like, if it's not obvious, the price levels, then to me, then don't trade them because forget about it. But there's plenty of liquidity here. It's going to do 10 million shares already in the pre-market, and probably going to on the way to another 100 million today.
Weekend video to come this week, guys, for pre-market trading. Make sure you check that out. As mentioned, Michael Nosh, chartered market technician from Trade Ideas, with us as always on a Friday morning. What a week it has been. Michael, lots to discuss here. Let's jump right into things because, the interest rate hike was received very well. Market right back to some multi-week highs here heading into a Friday. Overall, before we jump into some ideas for today, overall, what are your thoughts on the market at this point?
Well, I've been talking about SPY 420 for a long time now. That area has been support and resistance going back a long period of time, almost a year now. And that was when the war started, we gapped under it, and then we rallied up on that monster day. So I always look for big inflection points and days like that to play off of. So the fact that we're rallying off that again makes me even more bullish than I was before, just because when the longer an area gets digested, the more powerful it is for me. And that pop off it, especially on a big event, when you get moves off or below levels and there's really nothing going on, there's no volume, there's no news, you can still play off them and they might be significant. But the more people are excited and the more you get a move off a level, the more impactful I think it is. So we had the 25 basis points rate hike. It was baked in for a long time. You can go and see the statistics on I think the CME website of what they're pricing in. everything happened exactly the way it happened. I guess whatever he said after the fact was bullish. We had a strong push off, so I'm still just using 420 as my level. I'm going to be long as we're above that. If the SPY ever breaks down and holds under that, that's where I'm going to start getting a little bit nervous.
Great stuff. Let's when we dig in a little bit deeper, then it's important to understand why we're strong and what is moving the market overall back to the upside. Let's talk a little bit about some relative strength and a particular sector that I don't think a lot of people would have, picked out maybe as the one that could be in the lead right now.
Yeah, certainly. And this topic actually came from a viewer of you guys who emailed in after a segment that I did a long time ago where I talked about the ARC versus BRC difference in the chart. So we love that. So if you want to come to tradeIdeas.com and send us an email, it makes my job a lot easier coming up with topics if you guys are asking questions. So I love that. But the chart you can see up on the screen right now, I did I think in mid to late December when I was on here, basically talking about the relative strength we were seeing in value names, which I denoted with BRC, Warren Buffett's fund in the bottom chart, and then Cathie Wood's in ARC in the top. And then the next chart is where we are as of the close of yesterday. And you can see by sticking with that relative strength, how much further these things have went. This trade has been a monster. As primarily a swing trader in this down market, I've actually been holding on and doing okay, sticking with relative strength and trying to avoid buying the bottom in these growth names and kind of the Cathie Wood's name. So the question that we got in was, okay, what is the easiest way to find these sectors when it comes to growth versus value or oil or wheat or whatever? What's the best way to do it kind of from a manual point of view? Here at Trade Ideas, we're very quantitative. We have an algorithm that does this for you. But what if you just want to, do it yourself, get it under the hood? So what I've done with this next slide right here is just a simple chart that we have, something that we call a top list. We can sort all of the different sectors by this. So these are the sectors that I personally watch every day. You can put in here whatever it is that you'd like. And what I'm doing is I'm sorting by position in year range. So the more the bar is green and over to the right there, the higher it is in its yearly range. And then you can see KWeb down there, even though it had an impressive bounce the last few days, at the bottom of its year range and more red. So this is a very simple way to visualize what is relatively strong or relatively weak. So what I'm highlighting at the top there is XLU, or utilities. So when you think utilities, think water, power, phone, things like that. So then from there, if you're looking for relative strength, you can go through those top few charts. So what I did in the next slide is I just went to XLU, which is our utility spider ETF. So everything in here is going to be a utility name in some respect. And I just kind of noted it's doing pretty well. We had that massive push off the bottom, about 10, 15 days up in a row to about $72. Then we've been consolidating sideways around that 72. So I like the chart if we can get over 72, and that's fine for people who want to play ETFs as a whole. But I'm more of a stock trader. I just think you get more alpha and more move out of the individual names. So you can start searching within that sector. So it's a way to do what's called in technical analysis a top-down analysis, right? You find what's the strongest sector, and then you search within that sector for whatever stocks that you like the best. So as always, I'm going to leave you guys with a couple names that I like from there. So the first one down here is AEP, which is electric distribution. Nice, just very, very textbook bull flag going on. Big, strong push up, consolidating sideways, about $95 or so if we can get over that. Next one here is just ticker D, Diamond Energy. Same kind of move, holding really, really strong in this pennant pattern, getting tight after a strong move. In my opinion, these are kind of the easiest patterns to find, or the easiest patterns to trade once you find. Next is a good old Canadian name, TELUS. We all know TELUS up here. They're cell phones and phones and TV and that kind of thing. Again, another very classic bull flag here. About $26 is where I'd be interested getting involved in this one.
Interesting look. It's important to understand, and I mean, we talk about market internals on a daily basis, and you can take this same principle and kind of apply it to an intraday basis and say, you know, what today is actually leading the market and what today is relatively weak versus the overall market. So great look as always. Michael Noss, Chartered Market Technician with Trade Ideas. We appreciate your time as always.
Thank you very much.
Have a great weekend
now.
A couple of interesting charts there, guys. We have to dig in to understand a little bit more about, you know, what is actually leading the market when we are moving back to the upside, and then vice versa. If we do come back down, why is that?
Important. And like, shout out to Telus there bringing that one up. He knew it's a stock that Michael knew was the stock we'd be interested in. And we've sort of been banding this about, and I see it in the chat. And again, we'll probably talk to Michael about this, but I kind of feel like it'd be cool to have him on Mondays. And I know some of you probably are thinking about that too. It's just a lot of the looks that he's going to be giving you guys are swing type of moves and can be a little bit better for that, you know, beginning of the week kind of note. And I think that would be pretty cool. So maybe we can figure something out there, because that would make a heck of a lot of sense to me. And Sean and I have talked about this a couple of times, that as we listen to Michael, yeah, that'd be cool to have him on a Monday and then maybe recap sometimes on a Friday. But excellent content as always. I want to quickly just sort of address Adobe here, because we got a super chat. I want to thank you, John, for sending it. I think we got a question about Adobe yesterday as well, and I'll probably just end up reiterating a lot of what Sean said. They got their Ford P under 30 bucks 30 times now, so it's getting priced pretty well. Look, it's a good, solid company, and I'll tell you, if you're looking at it for the long term, this is easily the type of name where you want to start nibbling, even if you're conservative. In front of this 400 level, sticking the first like 10 or 20% in to what you're considering to be a long-term position, which is, I'm assuming, what you're talking about here, that makes all the sense in the world. Now, I understand, like, okay, there's certainly whatever probability you want to assign to it, that we can still break those lows and head lower, and maybe you're testing 300. But the question is, what do you think is going to happen in the next year to 5 years, whatever your time frame might be? And you know, picking up something like an Adobe makes some sense. And conversely, you could make the same argument about picking up some of the Qs or buying, like as Michael said, like buying ETFs or those types of things as well. So I get it, but from a single stock perspective, like they've gotten to that band in terms of how expensive it had become on an earnings basis. To where it's getting a little more palatable, and you start nibbling into it. And if it gets to the low 20s to 20, I mean, that's going to be like an all-in type of situation. You want to be fully in if it ever gets below 20. So you got to nibble at some point, and it looks good in front of that 400.
Speaking of, there it is on the board today to the downside. Citigroup with a price target cut for Adobe. FedEx on here. CSIQ, they reported earlier in the week. Lennar back to the downside as well. That is the other side of the story here today. StoneCo with the report. We'll talk about the earnings. Oxy's on here, Allstate, and United. Yeah,
StoneCo. Look, it got the upgrade, and I think it was Tyrone in the chat, and I think there's probably agreement across the entire panel. 31% to the upside on StoneCo, which is a little bit intense. It's not as if it has a gigantic short interest, because I had to double check. I was like, when I saw it up, I was like, oh, it probably just has a 20% short interest, but it doesn't. I think it's 7%, at least from FinViz. Maybe we'll get Brendan to double check it, but it wasn't like it was a gigantic quarter or anything like that. It was solid, and sometimes it's about where the stock has come from. Let's be realistic. Like the bump up, like we've been saying sort of over and over again, always zoom out. When you see these big percentage moves, like 20%, 30%, 50%, whatever it might be, zoom out and have a look at where the stock has come from, and it puts it into perspective. Because if I told you that StoneCo moved up $3 when it was cratering off of 68, you'd say nothing. It's like, that's not a move at all. When it was breaking below 50, that's not that big of a percentage move. It's only when the stock becomes this depressed that we start talking about those being what was essentially a normal day for it turns into, oh my goodness, it's up 30%. Right, so when in doubt, zoom out, have an idea of the perspective of the stock. I still do like it for a bit of a fade trade today, and most of that has to do with about a $14 channel. It's probably a little bit close. What did I write down here? 13.20 to 14. So, and again, that's just going a little bit deeper, zooming back in and looking at the last consolidation range that it had, and you can see like it was basically holding this 1250 area, and then you look at what those tops were. You got a 13.20 into that 14 even. I say to myself, into that channel is where I would expect some sellers to be a little bit more aggressive coming in, and that's why I want to be fading StoneCo into it. While all this was going on, that PIK, which was sliding off pretty nicely, got that 550 fill, and now it's consolidating again. So in this situation, I'm pretty much at 9 o'clock never reloading something like this. In this range, I kind of feel like the reload would be a little bit better if it was sort of breaking and stopping people out and then not taking the high. Like that would be a much weaker move, for lack of a better term. But I am out of most of it anyways, but I'm not moving the stop. If it takes out that like 585, 590 area, I'm going to be out of this one. Looks like it couldn't quite roll over all the way to $5, which can be seen as pretty bullish, but the volume's still tremendous.
Sean, you want to jump in there?
Sure. I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. Pick. I was looking at that stone. I heard Neil talk about Stoneco. Stoneco quickly here. Again, another Cathie Wood name. This is on the sticky note here today, and I'm actually really liking down here this 1150 break. I mean, this is another fintech name that's been beat up, but it's ripping right now, but has been beat up. I mean, to say the least. Like this is just another one of those pay safes, Affirms. Like it's a fintech name. It's a Cathie Love. We talked about Michael Noss talked about ARC coming through there, and this is just a monster move to the downside. Like I don't know where to properly value any of these names, but again, I just see a monster 3-day move back up to the upside, and then what I was reading was nothing too impressive on the numbers, but a break of 12, I don't really like that one too much because I feel like if you break 12, then how far does it go down? 1180 or something, and then you take a little bit of a risk there that you break 12 and you miss, and it goes right back to 13. So I'd rather wait to see if we dance down here at 1150. So my breaker order is in right now to go short on Stoneco here if we take down 1150, and it is borrowable, so we don't have to pay for shorts on this name. So that's another thing I was just going to remind everybody. If you are trading STNE, make sure that there are shares to borrow. I think it's only like a 7 or 8% short float, so that's not this move upside, but 30% just seems a little bit crazy.
As mentioned, let's get a look at the overall market here. We'll bring in Arun and talk a little bit about what has been, as we said, very positive week. We're back to the downside ever so slightly here, Arun. That on top of a big index change to come later on today. What do we need to know?
Well, it's been quite the week, right? 250 points in about 3 days. That's quite the move. It does look like the market wants to take a break, a little bit downward drift. So although the trend is still positive, we're getting a little bit of downside action. I wait for this to kind of go back to the upside a little bit before I kind of say, you know what, maybe the longs are still back on board. We're ready to go again. Because it's easy to see a day like today that we would kind of go sideways a little bit while we have these index changes coming in towards the end of the day. But keep in mind, index changes aren't necessarily just done at the end of the day. Some of that volume can be put in at the open as well. And most of the time, there generally is a decent portion, a decent percentage that is put into the opening imbalance as well. So they may be a little bit larger than normal compared to, say, a day like yesterday or the earlier days. So here we are kind of going sideways on the market with the downward drift. Momentum is still strong. Trend is still strong to the upside. Index day means added volatility at the open and at the close. So what you're going to see for all the days that we kind of show these imbalances at that 350, those are going to be bigger than normal. Now, although we would say that these index days tend to be more volatile and they're more aggressive and all that stuff that comes with index changes, what I've noticed in the past is that it's been somewhat of a dud in the last little bit. We expect a ton of volatility, we expect a ton of action, and then it's done quietly, right? And then you don't get that kind of crazy activity that we're used to seeing on index days. So that might be the case again. But anyways, prepare for the added volatility, at least at 350, so you're not surprised by it. But in the event that it comes out and doesn't do a whole lot, don't be surprised by it, because it does look like index action it's being done better. They're being smarter about it and how it's being put through the market. So it's not moving stocks absolutely nuts like it's done in the past. So added volatility at the open, at the close. In terms of futures levels, I've got 44.20 up top, 43.50 down below. So we are kind of going sideways a little bit. So we'll work within the range here. If we can get some buy-side momentum kicking in soon, maybe back to the long we go. But until that point, I just wait this out and just be smart about the open. Like I said, there's going to be some added volatility and volume at the open as well.
Big day to come. Thanks, Arun. We'll check back in again on Monday morning. Let's jump into what else you need to know heading towards the open here, under 30 minutes before we get the market open for a Friday. GameStop, top of everyone's mind so far today after they reported aftermarket yesterday. Wider loss than expected. And the only other thing you need to know is they didn't even guide. No guidance given from the company whatsoever. We're down 9.3 and heading lower, it's worth mentioning.
Yeah, they did well on sales. I mean, a $1 billion increase in annual sales. I'm just reading the note here, which is great. They outbid themselves on the sales there. It was supposed to get 2.19, looking at 2.25. But still, a $1.94 loss per share is not going to help anybody in this environment. And GameStop's had its high here of $90. It's bounced off there a couple times in the last couple days. You know, the markets rallied nicely, and GameStop didn't really participate in those rallies. I mean, sure, we had a bottom of 79, rallied up to 90, so that's not bad. And then now today, you're right back at these levels again. So I don't think much has changed here. Like you mentioned, no guide, $147 million loss. I feel like that's similar to what people were expecting here. And then they talked about non-fungible tokens, NFTs, building a new marketplace. And I think this is just all the same. I'm impressed by the revenue number. I mean, $1 billion is nice. It reported $2.25 billion in sales during the fourth quarter. I mean, that's a nice number. But you can see here, there was really no love. Sometimes you get like a little mixed action here on the report. It does go down to that 75. I'm not sure we test there. Like, I just don't know why we're not falling further. The numbers seem to be fine to me. And if people wanted to sell GameStop, this is a perfect day to do that. So whenever I think like that, I almost, think that this name should be moving a lot more. And because it's not, I actually think there's a bull case. So I'm looking at this 82 to break it to the higher side here. Like, why did we not, we just bounced off that 79. In my opinion, right here, that 79 shouldn't hold. Like, if this was not a great report, then we shouldn't be holding here. So that's something to look at. 78 bottom, maybe if we take that out. But, it's decent volume. It's 100,000 shares. It's not huge. So I'm looking at this 79 maybe as a breaking spot. So if we do dip down here off earnings, remember, I don't trade anything in the first couple minutes if it's an earnings play. I've used to be all over them, but now I decided it's just too back and forth. So let's let the market decide. But the numbers weren't horrible. And I don't know. I don't mind the marketplace for NFTs opening up. There's OpenSea. If these guys can get another one going, it's just more competition. I don't love the space. We've seen what's happened to some of the DeFi names and some of the, we just talked about StoneCo as well. Some of these hype ideas here in crypto just really haven't worked out to some of the extents anyways, a WonderFi, things like that. So I'm a little cautious on their guide of what they're trying to do. But hey, it's not that bad. And we'll see where GameStop goes from here. As far as a business model long term, obviously they're resting on, some people still buying from stores, getting the online purchases going, and then getting this NFT marketplace up. So I don't know. For an investment, I'm not sure, but the 79 level looks to be strong.
If this stock was like a quarter of the price, not a quarter, even like a half the price that it is, and you were talking about the turnaround they're trying to make, I think you'd have a lot more people on board. It's just expensive, right? And I get it. They have real sales, but you're supposed to make money. Like, it's a holiday quarter, man. Like, they're supposed to make money there, and to swing a loss when revenue's not the problem. It's just that you're swinging a big loss. You're making this adjustment. It's just not a good look overall. But you're right about 100% right. You break the 52-week low at 77.50, and then we're holding above that there today on no volume. To me, I'm saying, dude, if I short this thing, it's got to be almost below 77.50 or off of 90, because I don't understand why it's not moving. I would have expected that we'd be testing that low in the pre-market. No one's even selling into this thing right now. So those are the two levels I'll look at. $90 for sure. I think that stands out on the 15-minute. And below that 52-week low. It was breached in the aftermarket, but that's just the aftermarket. Ms. V?
We already received a few super chats. Thank you so much for your generosity and support. And guys, if you just joined us, I remind you, please smash the like button. Already 4,000 people are with us, and we really hope for your support. And let's get that 1K likes early. Back to you guys.
All right, let's continue along here. StoneCo up next. STNE reports better than expected. I was just checking out this FTFT as well, some crypto headlines just popping up, but I mean, this is a little penny stock. Anyways, STNE, as we were saying, Kathy Wood name better than expected here.
Yeah, I mean, we looked at this, and we've looked at the numbers, and I don't know a whole bunch about Stone Co. So, I mean, take it for what it's worth. But, you know, they made 24 cents per share. Lost 24 cents per share. Revenues, 1.87 a year ago. They got 1.7, expected 1.71, so that's good. But they still had a loss. So, I mean, they're still not making money. But, again, you know, you've seen how far down they've come. And we talked about this briefly there. They've just... I mean, it was $70, guys, like in July. You know, you're down to $8, $6. So, I mean, what an absolutely destructed name here, all the way to the downside. I'm looking at this. I mean, I can't do anything else other than sort of look at this 50 period. We came up, bounced up to it at 38, hit it and tanked right here at 32, hit it a couple times here and just rejected it. And guess what? We're right at the 50 period again, which happens to be $13. So for me, like I said, this is a short. It's had a nice run up the last couple days with a bottom there of that 8. Yesterday we got as high as 9, 2 days ago 9, and then yesterday didn't do a whole hell of a lot, and then a rip into today's numbers. So I don't know. I don't know enough about it, but for me it's a 1-minute chart. We'll look at this. There's definitely some resistance up here near this 12.80, $13. I guess it's a short up here. Actually, now that I look at this, I might as well just put a short. Like I'm thinking I want to go short 11.50. That's the break to the downside that I'm looking for. I have an order to go short 11.50. If 11.50 takes it down, then I think 10.50 is next. So we'll try to make $1. We'll try to hold that. But if it does rip up here, I mean, again, it's 7-8% short, maybe, I think.
7, yeah.
7, yeah. So, you know, this 12.80, $13, a nice little high area here. But at the same time, like, you know, we got to wait to see where this trades. So off earnings is going to be a tricky one. I am going to put an order, one order right here at 12.80 to try to get short. Otherwise, I short this, and I'm not going to long this name. I just don't know enough about it, not on 30%.
It's still $3 billion. It's still a $3 billion company, right? Well, maybe, obviously, it's probably changed a little bit here, but like sometimes when you look at the daily chart, you can just sort of say to yourself, yeah, but look how far it's come down, right? It's got to be a good value, but it can still trade like like what was the revenue? Like it's still like a full year, like probably $1 billion when you make the conversion, and it's a $3 billion company, and it's barely now turning a profit. So valuations are going to matter this year. You're going to get some of these big time moves, but I still feel like there's going to be people looking for exits for some of these names. So when I see the 30%, I'm sort of with you. I like the 30, 20 to 14 channel for some sellers to start to come in, and that's why I want to be out in front of that price area. It did just pull back now $1, but the volume, while looking good, there's still been a bit of a spread in the stocks. I'm looking for the pop and fade on this trade off Stone Co. If it gets through 14, I don't think you want to be too stubborn about it, but yeah, it just feels like this is an opportunity for some people to be able to get out of it.
All right, resource names, some mining names. We've talked about metals all week long. All of them pretty strong. X out with their report. Quiet one at that. Not a lot of volume here so far, but to the downside so far for U.S. Steel today.
Nucor guide lower, and they were down the day. And I didn't understand why U.S. Steel was up, like that 1.5% when Nucor revised their guidance. It was like, well, it's usually not the best quarter for steel names anyways this time of the year. And then you get U.S. Steel guiding down. Now, I already said it is what it is. Like it was $3 ago, but that $30 area has been so good on the daily chart that playing it from 20 to 30, I always get some out in front of the 30 level. And now it's breaking out there. So you sell on the way up sometimes, and it almost always doesn't look good in the next day or two, or even the next week. I do feel that this can be faded today. I know it's a good space right now, and I'd probably be looking to pick it up if we got anywhere near those moving averages. And you also even had a golden cross a couple of days ago, which is pretty bullish as well. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt, but there's a little thing that some people call head and shoulders. I don't care too much about those. I care about the fact that since making the new high, you break to this 35, get a triple top, and now you're right back to previous resistance, 33.75 into that 34.20-ish about range. So that's where I'm be fading U.S. Steel into today. You throw on top of that, you had the guide or the poor guide adjusted. I'd be a buyer if this thing gets down into the mid-20s for sure in the long term, but for today, pop and fade 33.80 to 34.20, somewhere in this little vacuum here is what I'm looking for. It gets past the quarters. Maybe I'd get out. I'd get out and then look to see if it can hold those highs from yesterday.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I knew Neil was going to talk about it. So it's only 150,000 shares, which actually isn't that bad. But yeah, all the levels Neil talked about obviously made sense there. And if you're into infrastructure and steel, I mean, I think you got to have some sort of a diversification, obviously, in your portfolio. So today being witching day, which is the expiration of many different options, single stock, futures, so on and so forth. So you're going to see you also have obviously weekly options expiring today. So look at all these sells and look at the industry they're in, man. XOM, KMI, CVX, Schlumberger, the top 4 sells, right? All in oil. So there you go to the downside. We'll see there's WFC there as well as a sell. But you're noticing these numbers are quite large here on the sell side. And just let me show you something here. But what happens on these imbalances? I'm going to go over to Toronto because it's a little bit different here. Like, look at this. So we're TD Bank, this is going to just do whatever. It's in Toronto. And it's 101 by 101.75. So it's the same price up here on the level 2. But look at the size here. It's ready to cross in 8.875 million shares on each side here. So, there's going to be a monster print happening at the beginning of the day here on TD Bank. You could go through them. Royal Bank, 7 million shares. Enbridge, just all the big Canadian names, 850 there for Enbridge. And I mean, it just goes on, 8.5. Just goes on and on and on. So there's going to be big action here. Let me see what Weed has on here. Even 1 million shares crossing in the morning for Weed. So there's a lot of action here on the imbalances today, which is why you're going to see an extended bids and offers here. Toronto is a lot different than New York and NASDAQ, so just showing you guys that you do have some big time action. Like, you're already doing more than average day's volume in these Canadian names off the very first print today. So get ready for a little bit of a wild open on both sides of the border.
For sure. I wanted to mention Meta, wild week for FB. Back to the upside, back above 200. We're down slightly yesterday or today. Very similar to the way it set up yesterday, and then we saw a nice move higher all throughout the session, back up to this 208. Nothing major as far as news behind this, but there was a story from Australia. Apparently their competition watchdog filing a lawsuit against the platform, talking about some cryptocurrency scams that are being run in that country right now. But Sean, you were all over this week.
Yeah, no, I mean, Facebook's been like one of my new favorite stocks. I mean, it gives you so many opportunities, and it's so violent as well, like, which is good because when you're the right way, then it just goes for you, and it's like, okay, that was easy, and it's part of scalping, right? I mean, if you can get $1 quickly on Facebook, you probably should do that, and then you can hold for a bigger move. But super strong name last few days, like you mentioned there, Brendan, down on some Australian news today. That to me is nothing. We should find a base at 202, wait for it, right? And so, again, we talked about the kind of move that we've had in the NASDAQ over the last couple days, and now today you're down 0.78. You have Biden and Xi meeting right now, apparently, so we'll see what comes from that call. Hopefully you can ease some of the China worries about, sending weapons and helping out Russia militarily and things like that. So hopefully we can calm some of those fears. And then down into here, man, Facebook. So let's just have a quick look at the daily or the minute chart, I guess. Unfortunately, we have this wick here. I should have cleaned it up, but there's the bottom of 202 yesterday, right off the open. So let's see if we can flush down into that level one more time. You seen how strong it was into the close yesterday? Like, we really started going at 205 and we ended at 208. In the last half hour of the day, this name went up $2. So now it pulls back, and I mean, this is a pullback. Like, it just comes back into 206, so it's absolutely nothing. I just wonder about a little bit of a flush. 202 is that ultimate bottom, but I think you could start in here, 203, 204. And again, today's name, or I guess word of the day, to me today would be right here, and I put it in here. Where is it? Patient. So it's right here. Wow, Facebook super strong. Hit a bit on news, but patient down to 202, right? So I think you got to be patient with Facebook. I like it, and I want to sit here and make sure that we can trade. So I already have my bid in. It's low. It's at that 202.50 area. So if we come into that, then that's where we want to start to get the long. But we'll see how it trades. I'm also thinking that 204 could be an area to build.
Yeah, I'm shooting 201, but that's probably where the stop would be on any kind of a trade. It's that sort of bottom, but also last week's resistance level, 201. But the upside, just in case, right? Like, let's not forget the consolidation this had from 208 to 213. You get into that channel on any kind of an up move today, and I think that 213 can be an interesting top, and it worked for the break. If you're looking for a breakout on Facebook and you take the 08, which I'm not, I'd be watching out for that 213 level. It was an entire it was almost a full week that we spent in that channel before running away from it to the downside. So, be a little bit cautious with this one. But yeah, that 200 looks pretty juicy. I think there's going to be, if we get a chance to shoot at it today, it's hard not to be on that bid.
Just watch IMPP popping up here, guys. Going to double check there's nothing coming across. Oil is starting to tick higher, but big move here for IMPP on the NASDAQ, currently one of those small cap oil names. I wanted to mention Tesla. They've restarted production at their Shanghai factory. Again, it was closed all week because of COVID. But also, interesting note on Boeing today. Boeing up here nicely, 1.8% back to 193. Delta reportedly looking at an order that could be as many as 100 airplanes, which, if confirmed, would be the biggest order Boeing has got in more than 10 years. So a decent move here for BA as well.
Yeah, pretty happy. That's good news for Boeing. Pretty happy about it. Quickly for Tesla, replace 800. Don't replace 800. 800 still a good level. 825, I think you're looking at for any kind of a dip. But upside, still that 885 to 890. That's still going to be in play if we look at those highs from last week. So that's what I'm going to be watching. I just think that this is the kind of thing that Boeing needs to actually get some momentum under it. Realistically, it's been on a nice run. I love the fact that we've actually broken out. Not every stock that made a bottom recently has actually broken out of that consolidation range. Boeing has managed to do that, and it's break, consolidate again, and break again. It feels like this has a good chance to get to that 200 level. If this ends up being a down day, it's really nicely set up in front of 185, 186 to grab longs, and that takes you to the previous sort of support level down to like 182, 182.50, so $2 or $3 worth of risk if it gets down to that 85, and then maybe you're getting back into 90. But I love the upward momentum that Boeing is on here today, and that news is a great qualifier as well. Pre-market volume's okay. I'd rather be buying it on dips, and I'd rather be trading something that's a little bit cleaner. And as Sean mentioned, we should be repeating it over and over again. Unless you have a really firm plan of action at the open, usually quad witching is one where you can allow the range to settle itself out a little bit. If you've got a great level that comes into play, that's fine. But rushing into a trade away from those levels on a witching day, not going to do it. Like, it either trades at a key level that we really like, or you can afford to sit it out. Now, the small caps probably doesn't matter so much. They're going to do their own thing. But for these big cat names, you can be patient.
Yeah, I'm actually, I just tweeted this out right here. We can show you. It's on the sticky note. I just added to it right here. And I'll just say exactly what I just tweeted out right here. And that's Boeing is now above this 190 level and starting to head to the upside. So now that we're above there, let's test it, right? And this is one of those things where if you're looking at a daily chart, which unfortunately, I could do my secret here. If I hit this again, it should update further back. Yeah, my secret is not working anymore. But okay, it's that same kind of thing that I was talking about, the war premium or lack thereof premium to the downside right there. It's, it hit down on March 3rd. I think obviously that's affected. We've seen some travel names going to the other side there. So now that we've taken out 190, I'm looking long into 190. So if we can dip down in here to 190-ish, 191, we'll put some bids there right now. I just added it to the sticky note. It is a new name. I'm going to keep showing the imbalances because look what just happened. They're gone. So XOM was 2.5 million. This is just a minute ago. Remember, everything was oil? Well, now they're paired off to almost nothing. Look at the paired off here. So what paired off means, like on QD, there was, it doesn't matter now. That's only I thought it was 7 million, but it's only 7,000. But, they've paired some of these off. Like, look at Ford. Ford a buy, it was obviously a 3 million buy or so, 2.8, and now you've paired it off to be only 300,000 left. So a lot of these names are getting paired off. There's XOM. XOM came with the 5 million share sell. Right now, XOM is only an 800,000 share sell. So a lot of these names have started to pair off a little bit. That's XOM. So as you can see, let's see if it's done anything on the pair off. A little bit. You see it's got, down to 78. Now that it's pairing off, you get a nice little 50-cent bump up. So yeah, should be an exciting day here. Whoopsies. You can see AT&T now leading the way. But this is what we talk about. Trade easy coming into the open. You don't have to have too many shares. Things should fly around a bit, but if there's some key price levels, put your bids in. Like I'm offering a FUR, bidding BABA, bidding Rivian, bidding Facebook, offering Rivian, offering SoFi, offering Stone, alone. So like there are some orders that I have ready to go. And just like Boeing, I'm now going to put a bid down here at this 191 area. Maybe we catch a bid early where Boeing tanks, and then we're like, no, we like this 190 level, and then it retraces back up. So get your bids in, but don't put them for full default, Brendan.
All right, I'll give you my take on this PIK as well. It's hard to avoid this action already. I mean, a monster move yesterday, to say the least, and then again in the pre-market, we're right back to 6. All I did was I'm going to box in 6 at the bottom, 8 is this level at the top. Consolidation on the daily chart. If you want to squint hard enough, maybe 550 comes into play, but we're holding that right now for the time being anyways, as support. So if we get above 6, no reason why this can't go all the way through to 8. Again, a tiny float. It's also relatively easy to borrow. Borrow costs not that high on PIK today, so it might be a little bit of a crowded short trade, I feel, especially after that move late in the day yesterday for this into the close. So wild action, though, for PIK so far.
Oh, that's a great point. That I should have mentioned that because I'm in PIK and it is relatively cheap, especially compared to yesterday. I forget exactly what it was, but certainly cheaper to borrow. That does mean day traders. Like when I said I tightened my stop on PIK in that consolidation, that's one of the reasons why. More day traders in it. So I feel like if it breaks one stop, it could be heading to the other, and that was at 585, 590. IMPP's on a run here, just 230 up to $3 just now, up 30%. But let's remember, like this is now bouncing off that $2 level, and it came from $9 just a couple of weeks ago, and then a $6 lower high. I'm not thinking that comes into play today, but I am watching this for first support on the fail at to 910, and then you're going to have resistance after it broke that channel. So that $4 level is standing out like a sore thumb. I'm usually, if it breaks out of 3, at that point I would only be looking for shorts off that 4 level. But that's a good consolidation. Look at what happened. I know we were more active in it previously and haven't traded since it capitulated, but look how active it was in this range, and it finally broke that too. So this is a good base for it. If it does come back down, there's a decent chance that it can find some real support. Even if it were to flush, it can still find support off of this 250 to 235 range. So, PIK, $4 monster level if it can get there. I just saw with 4 minutes to go, the market's starting to bump up a little bit here. Not really sure. I didn't really see anything come across, but this is what just happened on Tesla, a little bit of a $5 bump there. The NASDAQ bumping a few points there. But either way, it was just one big volume spike, sort of across the board, and every big cap name that I was looking at, just taking things to the upside. Moderna's on our watch list. The same old yada, yada, yada. They're whatever, man. Like, I don't know if surge in cases, whatever, they're applying for authorization, booster shot. Either way, on the daily chart, 178 is going to stand out here. It's been trying to break out of this range for like pretty much the entire year. So 178 is what's standing in the way. If it pumps here, pumps to that price, that'd be a fade for me. It is not a horrible setup for a breakout, but it's already broken the 172, so I'm not chasing it. And again, being witching day, like I'd be sitting in this into the open when it can get whipped around. I'd rather sit in front of a resistance price where I know where my out's going to be and then hope to get scooped up and then get a snapback trade than just be sitting in the long waiting for the market to pick me up there. So I'm going to be cautious with that. When you mentioned a firm, yesterday's 37 to 37.50 channel is still very much in play. That was a level we were taking in the aftermarket, so in the closing show, but it's still very much in play. So you get a pop and fade on a firm, that's definitely one to watch. I think we covered just about everything. I have orders on U.S. Steel as well. That PIK, which I just mentioned to you, I would not reload. That's just me. It's retesting this 580 again, so it's still selling in the same range. But I have a rule about not adding to these positions if you're short in a runner between 925 and 930. It just sort of feels like a lot of times you're getting run over. Let it open up and then try to take it. So about 2.5 minutes to go here, guys. I was asked about PDD, Dinesh. The same 41, 42 area I like, but the volume's not there. So it's not the same thing. All those Chinese names were really in play yesterday. There's not as much action in them, so I don't think it's the first look. What? Already?
You were starting to get spicy already. So I don't think it shouldn't be too much of a problem, but okay, starting to be a problem. The market is starting to rip, so I gotta cancel some of these offers that I have out here right now. We don't need to be too short or long anything right now into this market. We did just short Rivian twice. Sorry, no, I only have one fill on Rivian here, 42.30. I do have another one to get shorter up here, 42.80. Let's cancel that quickly as we're starting to get into some of these trades. trade. So Rivian, we like these levels. I mean, I'm not afraid to trade around these. It's just I don't like to get filled too early here on some of these names. So here's Rivian. Might look a little bit better on the 20-minute. It's right into these levels. It's on the sticky note. And what I wrote down on here was really same plan until we break this 43.50 to the high side, which you could see right here is right there. That's 42. We're going to give it, I mean, it's got to load up. Here it is, 43, so 43.50. So if it can come back in, this is a little bit of a concern area right here, 43, 43.50. So if we break that, we'll get out of that trade. So a minute left before we open. We are now into Rivian short, and it's about to get real here. And then we're into a firm short as well. We like that play into the same level, 37 or so. What we wrote down is we're going to use 38 as a stop short on a firm. So if a firm starts to rip up, that's our short right there as well. But we're into these names, and we're pretty excited. Only 40 seconds to go here before we ring that bell.
I think Brendan has something quickly.
Quickly, guys, there was a comment from Zelensky there that shot oil to the upside. He said, I have no doubt that my country will join the European Union as a full member, period. So oil ripping on that.
Okay, so interestingly enough, I might get that from. I was watching Lucid getting pretty close to the 25 level as well. We have the newest member of our team. Fahad is going to be ringing the bell here. I don't know if Ms. V's with him, but ringing that bell to end the week. Let's get him on the camera right there because we got 5, we got 4, we got 3, 2, and 1. Ring it, Fahad. Welcome to the team.
Yeah, no,
we'll work on
he's
that.
A rookie. He's a rookie. You got to spank that thing, bro. Okay, so here we go, man. We're into Rivian. We're letting the market settle down a little bit here. We'll see if we can pick up some bids. We just took a little bit of a bid out there on Rivian, letting this market settle down. We are into Boeing. Boeing is coming to the. I almost said Boeing is crashing. We don't want to say that. Boeing coming down to the downside. True. We got picked up there at 190. Let's get out a little bit here if we can. Boeing bouncing around here, but let's see. This is what we want. We're in 3 positions: Boeing long, Rivian short, a firm short, and they're all printing right now.
Yeah, I got ticked into a firm as well, but I also got Grom, and this is on our watch list. 150, I think Brendan might have mentioned, I don't know if he mentioned this one, but either way, 150 was the pre-market lower high there. So fading into it, it's a very low float, so be very careful if you are trading it. Man, Tesla made a bit of a run there, getting up to 875 and now starting to pull back. So if you got those offers, it looks like we got those fills, and I want to make sure we're checking in on GameStop. That spiked through that 80 level, now coming back down. Remember 77.50? That was the previous 52-week low. That's the short that I want, or it's got to be $90.
Okay, so we're going to, I mean, all we're doing is waiting, right? We said we'd let this market settle down a little bit. Let's watch this market. The NASDAQ now starting to come back down to the downside. So here we go. We are long Boeing. Boeing right now long 190.70. Okay, there we go. Nice out. Boeing ripping. We're long 190.50 right now on BA, and it's a ripper right now. So we're going to go, yeah, buddy, drop down some cash early on these names. Boeing in the money, 50 cents. Rivian coming back down right now. We don't take any outs. We are on the bid in the 30s here for Rivian. And then if it wants to come back down, let it be. Let's see if that does happen. Maybe we take a bid here. We're only short at 53, so it's not like it's moving too much. Boeing is the name that's going to the upside, and a firm kind of just dancing. We waited at 37. I don't know why we didn't get anything. 36.95 was our offer. It went up to 92 there. Damn you. But a firm is right here anyway, so there it is. There's the last bit of that short. We're out if it breaks 38.50, guys, a firm. But Boeing right now is $1 in the money.
Yeah, just to remind everybody, I know I was watching CAR yesterday. The 300 level has come into play on Avis. So I am going to try to get some shares. It just bounced off 300. I'm now going to get it at 99. I wanted it to open up. Grom, which we got in front of that 150. I just took some out in front of 140, and it gets some more in front of the pre-market lows here. And if it breaks the lows, I'm looking 125 for the next outs after that. Didn't get U.S. Steel, oddly enough. That was another name that we're offering, trying to get a spike. It goes to 33.70, so it tries to get into that channel, can't quite get there. I'm going to tighten up just in case it tries to come back. I'll tighten up the order to get within the range here as it's starting to roll over. But it looks like a firm once again spiking to that upside. It's now broken 37. 37.50 was my next level.
Wow,
and for those of you watching PIK, this is why I didn't want to reload. Didn't reload my stop. the entire time. First thing I said to him, I said, my stop is not at the high of the day. My stop is going to be at that 585. So I got out instantly on PIK. And it's a good trade, but overall, you've got to know when to be cautious. That was a tight consolidation. If it gets to about 7 or 750, I definitely revisit that one.
Okay, we're into stone here. I decided to go long on a break through 13 if that does happen. So we're going to watch out for this stone trade. I am trying to bid a little bit out. This is where we're short 78. It's starting to come back down a little bit. We do have some orders into the 1220 area here for stone. So let's see if this one wants to fly to the downside. We just did take 10 cents, but down here into 1230, 1240 is not bad. Let's see if we get that. Other than that, man, not much happening. Did we get a reload there? Yeah, we did. We got a 37 bid there on a firm. Where else am I offering here? 37.50. Okay. So, I mean, again, we're into this name. We're not too heavy on any positions yet, but we are watching out. There goes Stone. Now back into 12.50. It did fade off that 13. So maybe a spot to get out now 12.50 as we just bounced around there.
So obviously I did miss that car trade. So I went to look back at it. I did try to pick up some 99s. I should have chased a 98. It's now down at 93. I really only wanted in front of that 90 level. Sorry, in front of that 300 level. Not going to end up having gotten it here. So it is a bit of a annoying trade because that's one that I should have been all over. Apologies for not getting to AMD. I know we talked about this one as being relatively weak yesterday's action. 115 monster level for AMD if it ever gets there. Doesn't look like it's going to. It just failed at 112. This is the same price we're shorting in the afternoon show. So pop and fade off of that 111.50 to 112. That's the new resistance or the first resistance level on AMD, which has been relatively weak. Yeah, I mean, after I just got my more shares into a firm, 37 is now my price. If it takes that 50, I'm going to have to walk away and retest it at 38.
37.50. Yeah, I'm trying to get shorter here at 37.50 on a firm. So let's see if we can get a little bit more here. I don't know. I'm going to take 40s. Why wait for 50s? There it is. Okay, here we go. We're getting ready to rock and roll. We're going to get spanked on this Affirm trade. But Boeing is $2 in the money, so at least there's that. What's up, Brendo?
Baidu, the first Chinese name to pop up here, guys. We held 150, it looks like, at the open there, but straight back up through to 152. Huge volume there for Baidu.
I have here. Boeing's a nice one, man. We talked about that 190 level. And remember, we tweeted this out. This is on our sticky note, long into 190. I mean, that's exactly what we did. It's up to 193 right now. So a nice little win for us on this. But yeah, we are having to wait now. Neil was very patient, and that was a good move, man. Waiting for this to come through. Okay, there goes Stone. Stone just broke 13, guys.
Yeah, so it's going to get to that channel I like. By the way, Facebook's also in that 208 to 213 channel, so if it tries to go a little bit higher, I think it can be faded if it gets close. But Stone, now this is level we're looking for on a 15-minute. Yeah, that's not a good break at all. That's almost a fail break. Yeah, okay. I'm sitting at 13.50, but when I say a fail break, like it goes above 13 and the offer goes to 4s and 5s, but the bid doesn't track above 13 even. You know what I mean? Like there's no buyers above the price immediately, even though the offer opens up. So it runs some stops essentially at 13 even, but no one actually buys above that price. That's what I mean. A long-winded way of saying that. So instead of waiting for 13.50, I'm going to place some momentum on it just to start the position a little bit earlier. And if it can come down to 12.50, certainly take some out in front of it. It's not a huge short interest, but it's enough and it's low enough that you should at least respect it. So gonna make sure we do that. Just tracking back to that PIK, it didn't quite get to 7, let alone that 750 area that I said I would look for it for potential short. I also did make the bungle of not having a stop order, and someone said, what would it take to get me long? The second part of that outside of a dip was a 625 double top break, and I didn't actually have my order in. That actually would have been good. So if you took that one, congratulations to you. I didn't get my order in.
Oh man, it's like I can't even reload any of these things, man. It's like nothing's really moving around too much. We already have our prices. Like we got our price on Rivian right now, and I can't really average in. We're just going over some of these outs that we have coming through. So Rivian, I actually didn't even put a script order in here to get out. So we will have to take this out. What we wrote down on our sticky note here was watch out for that 43.50 area. That didn't come into play yet, but 43.50 on Rivian is something that we are looking for as an out, and it's been high up here before. This is the 20-minute. It's right here. That's 43. You up it a little bit. That's 44. We talked about that kind of back and forth on Rivian. We did this yesterday. We were able to hold, and it did come back for us. So let's see where we go. There goes Stone again. We just got 16s there on Stone Co. So a nice little move upside for that one. And there it is. Like, so we go short, take a little bit out. It did tank even further for us, but we didn't appreciate it. And then it went up. We just got some 20s, I think. 18s, it looks like. Oh, here it is right now. Up, going north side here. here goes stone. So this is a little bit of a savior for our account right now. Rivian, I think I'm going to take a little bit more out. We are overloaded on this stock. So let's take a little bit more out here on Rivian in case this market does want to take off again today back to zeros. We're bouncing around that 14,000 again.
Yeah, and going to get a reload in GROM. I just jumped back into a firm after it curled at that 38 level. Missed it by a little bit because it got right to 37.90. That's the level I really wanted. So I'm going to take half here and sort of wait for 37.75. GameStop's on the run, by the way. So I talked about 90 level. That actually bounced $5 or $6. Remember, we're like, why is it not moving? It should be selling. Well, it again held that 52-week low. $90 is a monster level for GameStop. If there's size at 85 because it's an even round number, I would certainly play off that. But GameStop now on the run. I see people talking about AMC as well.
Is that
a
running?
lot of times, whoops. So my level 2 that I'm watching actually loaded up fine. There you go. A lot of times when GameStop goes, AMC gets a sympathy play, it's not much of a move. Like it just went like 30 cents when GameStop ran $4 or $5. I think it's just being dragged with it, so be careful. If GameStop turns at 85, AMC might make the similar turn. I think it's just being dragged along for whatever reason.
1550, yeah, you have that 1550 high here on AMC, and again, I can't look at it. Well, I mean, I'll look at it for you quickly here, but I can't do too much because I am dug in to everything else. But there's that 1550 high. If you want to fade anything on AMC, that might be a good play, and it looks like that is coming back in right now. So that 1550 high that we had yesterday in the afternoon, and again, you know, you zoom out, you're always going to see little spikes like that, but maybe you take 1560, but it's that little area right there. Okay, things are starting to move for me here. So Rivian back down. We are short that name. We just took a little bid. There's a lot of pressure here. The market is going to the upside. I don't know if it's going to withstand this, but if we blow out the top here, then all my positions are going to get cracked. So we're going to have to try to get a little bit lighter on some of these. Boeing still was $3 in the money, and we didn't notice it because we're looking at everything else. We already took out 20, 40, 60%. So we're in 40% of this name. But look, it went right up to that 50 period and stopped, and now we're testing VWAP to the downside. So I do want the market to come down here. There's no doubt about that. I'm overloaded to the short side on my account, so we do want the market to come in. But the problem is Boeing is coming in a little faster than the market is here. So that's never a good sign. We're going to wait at 192.50 now to get another piece out. And then we'll see, man. If the market does take off, I think Boeing is a good reload down here. It's just I'd rather play the short than the long in this market. As here we go, starting to come back in a little bit. That StoneCo, by the way, yeah, it looks like we'll be fine on this name after all. I'm still waiting for higher highs here. So let's see if we could take out this 1330, but well aware of the moves that StoneCo can have. I'm not going to hold this too much past this 1270. Up and down, you know, sometimes when you play these breakers, you know, they don't work out, or they do, and we'll see what happens. So I got to give some outs, and I'm going to use 1269er as the out. But right now it's a 15-cent winner, so happy with StoneCo. Just really need a firm and Rivian to start working out. Yeah,
I tend to agree with that, but I want to quickly point out with the market trying to bounce there, and Micron just sliding. I mean, just absolutely sliding down. Now down 2.5%, actually more than that, and it's only been going straight down. And you check AMD, which is screaming to the upside, NVIDIA, which is, load up here, also screaming to the upside. So a bit of a divergence happening here, Micron specifically, and this can happen on witching day. But when I see that, my first thought is if you get it in front of support, I want to see if I can't pick a little something up on Micron. That 77 level was good yesterday, so I'm going to take a little bit of Micron. Sometimes you just get these one-offs that can happen on a witching day where there's some imbalance action and it causes an outsized move in either direction. Choosing between fading AMD or NVIDIA at the top or trying Micron in front of support, I'll go with the latter. Brendan?
It's still pretty strong here, guys. DD, the latest to pop up. It was a bit of a delayed reaction here from DD, but once we got going, big time volume coming in right now. 7.5% now for DD.
Okay, maybe we should be looking at some Chinese names. We are into SoFi right now, like all these names, like I'm short all these fintech names, which is not good. We're long StoneCo though, but here we go. Okay, this might take this out. We were looking at this 920 area. If it takes 920, we're gone. I'm happy for SoFi, man. This was that YOLO trade that I talked about, going long at that 840 level. Some people were talking to me about that yesterday and like, what do you think about that trade now? Yeah, YOLO, man. You're in it. You're in the money, and it's a nice trade to the upside. Those of you that may have done that though, you know, SoFi's been a nice little rip from their bottom 750 up to 920. We are short this. Remember, this is just a day trade, man. Like, we're here to day trade this name. So we should have took some out when we first got filled. Where's the minute chart? Here it is. And we went, like, we got filled here and it went all the way down to 906 there and we didn't take it. I was thinking the market was going to retrace a little bit here. But right now, some of these beatdown names starting to go back up to the upside. So I was thinking yesterday that Roblox was going to be a good trade today. It was pretty strong the last couple of days, taking out that 45, and now you're seeing it today. Wasn't on the note, but look at this, man. There's that 45 print that we were talking about, and I didn't even see this yet, but that's a nice move, $2 straight to the upside. We're going to get hit on all these, man, so we got to start looking at these levels. Affirm, we had it back to 38, so we have our levels ready to go. If that takes out 38, then we do want to get out of this one, but Affirm right now, right back to the top of the morning, $38 as we remember our Irish blood from yesterday. Top of the morning to you, 38 bucks coming on Affirm.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I got back into Affirm, reloaded it, and I'm going to get out at that 38. It's just that simple. STNE, I think I'm giving it to that 1350 high, and then from there the 14 as well because it's in the channel. I did take some out of Micron, so catching that bounce, again, it's just a witching thing, man. Like, you see other chip names running, and that was going downside. Found it in front of a support level, but PIK has gotten to 7. The reason I said 750 was this channel on the daily chart, 750 to $8, you can see. And I know it's a bit of a round number as well, but it just put a wick-off candle at $7 for a bit of a failed break. So I'm going to do this, get slapped around in Affirm, and that's not going to be a winner. We can revisit that one. Maybe there'll be another short opportunity, but it just runs again this morning. But the wick-off candle on PIK, it's not 750. But when I see that kind of a move and then a consolidation here, I'm going to jump into the short almost every single time. So I do like it better if it were to make one leg higher, but that's a setup I'm going to take when I see it. Brendo?
There's been strength all week, guys, in social media stocks. Here goes Twitter again, 4 days in a row to the upside, 2%. Back through 38 now for Twitter.
Okay, so we're very, very close. That's Twitter. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these names that have been beat down, like we said, seem to be having their revenge again. Like, I still can't believe Affirm is up to these levels one more time, 38 and change. Like, unbelievable for Affirm. We didn't get out, but we're going to get out very, very soon if it starts taking out some of these tops like it wants to do again. So, I mean, Affirm just up multiple percentage points. You're talking like 30% over the last 3 days. So, you know, but not much we can do. Here comes the downside. We can't hold this forever. So 38.25. We will get out of Affirm, and it looks like that's what's going to happen right now for a $1 hit. There it is. So we're short. We'll still hold on to a little bit short, but we just got out. That was a $1 clean hit on Affirm. Not much we could do there. We were looking for the short. We hit it yesterday, but we will flush ourselves down the toilet there as we thought that short was going to come through. It just didn't. So maybe now a 38 break back down to the downside for Affirm, because we've seen this happen before on this name where we've wicked upside here. Where is it? It's right into here where we've hit these levels, and the out should have really been 37.50. I don't know what we were doing getting out at 38.50, but there's the play there, and here's the move, and then there's that move up to 40. So I don't know. I don't know if this is still worth shorting or not, but I think if we can take down 38 one more time to the downside, then we'll take it, but it's just motoring to the upside. So Affirm definitely not working out right here long. Stoneco's good. SoFi, I don't know. It's bouncing. It looks like we'll get out at that 920. That'll be a 10-cent loser as well. And then Rivian right now, like, just battling this. This is that wick that I was talking about. I got it confused with the firm. It's right here on 44 bucks. So we'll see what happens. The play should have been to get out at 43 and then hit it back down if we reject that 44. But again, like, I didn't think this market, I was talking about today maybe being a sell day, and it's just straight to the upside. So I don't know whether or not this is the top or not. I'm going to hold out for a little bit longer on some of these names.
Yeah, and got in and quickly out of half of that PIK trade. So again, it's about the wick off top, right? You get a consolidation off of what is just a spike high and a failed break at 7. So it breaks 7 even after a parabolic move. You get that quick little rejection, then you need a quick little consolidation. You're short in front of it. I got 91s. I've already taken some out in the 60s, shooting VWAP for the rest of this thing. And if you're going to go kind of trend bullish, you have to have a plan. The way I see it is like this setup is going to happen over and over again when you get these runners. So I kind of know when I see it, you just sort of throw the trade in there and know where you're going to be wrong. That's Stone Co, which I think we were both in it. I'm going to pop to the 15. Sorry, I should pop to the daily chart first. Remember the channel that we're thinking about here. It's that 13.20 to 14 even area. And I got 13s to the short side. So to try to keep things into perspective here, The thing about this move is it can be gigantic, but 14 is that key level. And really, I don't have, like, I got bids in here, and then I'm going to have bids at 12, and I still think you're holding out for some 11. If it works, it should be working down to 11, 12. So giving it more room is the way to go. The 15-minute chart's going to be what I use. I just got Moderna. Not much to do here because I said 178, and this is part of, if you have a level, use it. If you don't, then you don't have to make the trade. But Moderna on the daily chart here, this is that 178 that it's been trying to break out for a while. As usual, when I have a stop at an even dollar level, you give it a few shekels past that. So you can sort of like do in your imagination, whether it's 10, 15, 25, 50 cents. I always think you have to give it a little bit more room just so you don't necessarily get wicked out. So that's always the approach here. But I'm going off this level on the daily chart here on Moderna. And if it does make a sustained breakthrough here, I think it's likely gone. Though it's been trying to break out for a while off this level. So I'm giving it about $1 worth of risk. I think it can get to 75 if it pulls back. So just want to keep that in mind. And when I say 75, that's still well within the range that it's breaking out from. So my price is 177.5, giving it just about $1 worth of risk. I'll start taking profit at 1-to-1. Brendan?
Moderna on the watch list this morning, guys. There was a new filing from them in regards to another dose for their COVID-19 vaccine. 178 up here, just got tagged on a huge volume spike, up 5 for Moderna.
Okay, yeah, so we got hit there out of SoFi, but we'll try the reload now against that 932. I just don't know why I'm not believing in any of these names today. Like, I should have maybe just traded Stoneco to the long side, as we just got a 1340 print right there. We're going to try it one more time, like we just finished saying. A firm upside, we got taken out there. No reload yet, but looking at a reload if we do take down to the downside, and then see what happens here. But again, we sort of dug into SoFi right now at these levels, and we're dug into Rivian, which doesn't look like that's going to work. It's up here to 44. Like, again, like, I just didn't think that these names could go today, and it looks like they are. So on these days is when I get hit. So up to 46 maybe goes Rivian. But we're going to get this out just on a breakthrough 44. It's just so much pressure today on these shorts. It's like there's nothing I can do. We're able to take some out in this consolidation, but it's that break right there that we should have just tapped out on. But again, sometimes the breaks lead you to those wicks, and it's just like, we've done the research, we've looked at Rivian, and I just didn't think that this 44 was going to get taken today, and it just looks like it is. So not much to do right now. SoFi comes back down to the downside, so that was a sick reload. At least we got some cash going on SoFi. Let's see if it goes lower than this as the market ripping up.
Brendan?
Is my thing
Another one just popping up once again. This is about 2 or 3 times now on volume here for XPEV through 27 now. This thing on a mission today.
XPeng was a huge mover yesterday. Well, it was yesterday or 2 days ago that I think we kind of neglected. And the same thing's going to happen on pick the first time. We're going to get out most of it on the first flush, and then we're going to have the stop out. This time, I mean, the first time I guess it happened over the course of a half an hour, actually an hour. But here, we're able to get some out at 660. We're going to have our stop out. I don't give it to the high of the day on that play. Usually, I think if it breaks there, it's likely to test the high. So I keep the tight stop on each time. That's a way to remain positive on the stock if you're going counter trend. So that's just what I choose to do. The only chance to go long should have been, to me, off of that 625. I didn't take it. So at this point, I'm looking for those short retracement trades every single time it sets up. I'll do the same thing. Scalp them out to the first obvious support level, and then try to hold the rest into VWAP. And as long as I see the risk reward, I'm going to put it on. I still have that Grom, by the way. This one is sort of easing back. I should cancel this offer. If I get it, I don't want it. This one's easing back to the downside. It hasn't given that $1.25, but when one of these starts to go for you, you just kind of hang on to it, throw your bids down there, and hope to get scooped up. I kind of feel like Stone is inevitably testing that 1350 area. I still have a 13 average price, so I'm holding on for this. It can make that flush to the downside, but the market is screaming. GameStop got to 85, went to 84.90. I still like 90 better. But if you're going to turn it 85, halfway, 80, 80, 85, 90, you know how it goes. I'll take a shot. I don't see a lot of size here, but it did make one reversal, so you're going to get me to bite. If we make another bounce off of this 85 level, you'll definitely get me to bite. Watch out for your Rivian, because Tesla just pulled back off 885.
Oh, I'm watching out for Rivian. That's for damn sure. But yeah, right now, guys, we just took another piece out. You're short Stone, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I'm thinking the same thing here. Where I'm not short. I'm long. We're actually the opposite positions, but I'm getting out because it's just bouncing around this 1350 area. So if we could take some out here, let's just do that. I just took another 31. My best out is 40. So and we're light now. So we broke it higher. We only have about 15% left on this. So most of our outs were here, and then we got a nice out there at 40, and then we just took a nice piece out there at 30 as well. So we are light now on stone. So just so you know, we're getting light on that one, and it just, because it hasn't broke up here on this market move, let's just see, does it have another leg to it? Who knows, but we're gonna watch out. And there's the shout out for Rivian, so let's see. Now it's coming back down to the downside. Obviously, this is an area where we'll need to get something out. You can't, like sort of what Neil was saying, you can't average in all the way, and then when it retraces back down, you just sit there and not get aggressive. So sometimes you take the L's, man. And I mean, and right now, Rivian, this is an L. It's not that bad. We're short at 43.11. It's at 43.30. So, but I do want to take advantage of these moves down. Let's start to go, and it's a hit, right? The only reason why that's our average price is because we did take some of these outs right here, but hopefully Rivian can come back down. If this market can crash, then man, we'll make a big change here in our net. We are short SoFi. We've been getting something out here in the 20s, but again, averaged in price, right? So watch out for SoFi making some moves right here. We'll see if we can go. SoFi trading, we'll see. Rivian coming back down, and Brendan time. What's up?
Nanogenomics, blast from the past, guys. BNGO out with positive data on a new treatment that they're working on. So BNGO up big time today, almost 8% now on decent volume.
And what was its name, Al?
Bingo was its name.
This keeps falling.
I know. So Dinesh asked a good question. Well, at least made a point. He's saying Moderna has to be a short at 180. No, it doesn't. I mean, you can try levels like that, but when I look at something like that level on the daily at 170, once it's breaking out on the daily chart, like I'm looking for that curl, right? Like the last time it did this for you, fine, it was fantastic. And when it tested those levels, you got a pullback. As a matter of fact, you got one in yesterday off the open when it tried to break out off that high. But once it goes through, I'm not fighting it. Like if it's a breakout on the daily, I know it's 180 and it's a round number, but it's too much of a break. So I had the level, you take the out, and once it breaks past that out, that's it. If I see something else at like 190 or 200, I'm not saying it goes to 200 today, but on your daily, yeah, like that gets a little bit more interesting when it gets to a 200 level. But that's where things start for me. It's, do I have a defined out? And once you take it, you can move on to the next. And if you don't see something, you don't have to be in the trade. I might have missed a reload on Micron there, which still, with this market screaming, is relatively weak, but it's managed to hold 78 a couple of times. I did get some out here, and I'm looking to see if we can at least get back to $80, which feels like it's big-time resistance. I'm still watching AMD, and you're seeing that hold up, even after pulling back. You see NVIDIA, which as well is still screaming to the upside. At some point, I got to figure it's going to drag me up here on Micron. As long as it holds support and the market holds up at those highs, this should be making a bit of a move because you're seeing some strength in the chip names.
Yeah, we got. We're making a little bit of money here as it pulls back in, but we did reload that Affirm off that 40. So now I got to hold this, man. No more outs. I do have one at 38 low down here if we can get going, but obviously this needs to make it back to 37 if we're going to make any money on this trade. So we're going to have to hold on to that. And it's not about making money. It's about making the reads as well. The NASDAQ did pull back down, and when we saw that move back down in, I mean, we're already north of 14,000. And look, what a surprise. 14,000 on the NASDAQ was the bottom today. This is exactly what I'm talking about. I shouldn't be short if the NASDAQ is above key levels like this. So I'm understanding that. We're getting out as it comes back in a little bit and relieving some of the pressure, but obviously things didn't pull back enough for us. Rivian, though, like this is what I'm talking about, man. Relieve some pressure. When it comes back down, we're taking some more outs. Remember what our short price was, 43.11 on average. So when it comes back into the 20s, like we're going to take that after having to hold it all the way back up to 44 flat. Like this is going to be our out. So if there's any problems here, it's going to be bad. So we're going to have to watch out for that. Stone still dancing, so I don't have any plays on that one. And then Facebook, man, this was a name that, hey, like we wanted the long and just thought the dip was going to come first. There was nothing. There was no dip at all in any of these names. I mean, check out
there was one.
Was there? Check out Alibaba quickly, though. Like, whoops, .NF. That's not going to go nice. Baba up to 105, up 6-something%. Let's go to Valerian. We'll let these charts load.
Hey guys, I hope you're having a great morning so far. I want to kindly ask you to like this video. We have 7,000 people watching right now. By the way, MULN is ripping, so go MULN on the like button, guys. Back to you.
So I might have said, oh, come on, but that was for FedEx, because literally, as Sean was like, yeah, there was nothing that blasted down and bounced off a level. It was good. FedEx kind of did. So it did come down to 213 in the beginning of the channel and then bounced up $5. Then it did it a second time going to 214. Whoops, Facebook's on the NASDAQ. Load. Facebook now well within that channel. I think you got to be a little bit patient with it. It's a $5 channel Facebook just got into. So if you got the front end of it, 213 is going to be your top side. GameStop, someone just said you missed GameStop. Well, I wasn't really looking for the breakout long. All I did was take this little trade short here in front of 85 and then out, right? Like it breaks a stop, I'm out, and now I'm looking at 90. And now it's going really parabolic. So when you go really parabolic into a level like this is usually what you really like. So I'm gonna pull back because it's just sitting at 99.50. Almost doesn't make sense. When it starts to extend like this, get in smaller and then try to be a little bit nimble with it. There we go, just got one leg in. And if it breaks out here, fair enough, but you've got to give this one a little bit more room on GameStop. Whoops, that was stupid. Why did I just get short? There we go. This accidentally got long and scalped it out because I was about to say, like, you want to be giving this some room off of that $90 level. So if it comes and slams back down, I'm going to get more shares to the short side because this is way too parabolic, and I'm going to hunt this one to the short side. Brendo?
Inside EVs reporting U.S. electric car sales, guys, showing Tesla still has a monster lead, to no one's surprise, in the U.S. as far as sales are concerned. So Tesla, big time strong today.
The worst price.
Oh man, GameStop's last. I mean, none of my charts for some reason are still not loading here. I don't know what's going on, but I just did notice Mullen. There's a lot of talk here. I can't even do anything. Like nothing's loading. I guess just the no trade charts over here. So Mullen, the high, I believe, anyways. I'm gonna have to use my e-signal charts. Was this 260? So we had 262 as a high. Watch out for that 270 break on Mullen. I'm gonna throw it back in the I'm just gonna flip around some of these charts and see if we can get something. But right now, nothing's working for your boy.
Yeah, I actually was having an issue with not just execution, stuck orders. So I had some not stuck orders, but stuck level one on my level one. So you hit the enter price and it goes out wrong. That's how I actually ended up in a long that I didn't want there. So I get stopped out in GameStop, then got back in, and then just took it out off of like a 92.50, which I probably should have held on to. But when I was intending to be short, I had the short, and then when I'm intending to add to the short, end up with a execution to the long side, which obviously would have been good. It is what it is at that point. And then get in and out there two separate times. You can see the 90 in and out, and then just got like a 93 jam in and out at like 92.5. So GameStop, kind of an ugly one. But I'm watching out because like I actually saw when it was at 90, I was seeing bids up at like 90.50 on my level two. So I'm just going to be a little bit cautious trading this one because some of the quote was a little bit bad on GameStop. When it's moving that fast, just back off a little bit. We're breaking out on Micron as the market just took out fresh highs. So at this point, it's like every short is out except for the small cap and the long as a whole. Now that things have shaken themselves out at 10 o'clock. And I'm still only thinking in one direction in GameStop. I still think it's going to be a short back to 85 at some point. Brendo.
Hey guys, yeah, lots of relative strength. Those declines we saw in the pre-market gone pretty much. Here's the Dow already positive. Both the NASDAQ and the S&P on their way as well to positive territory, it would appear. Still red here in Toronto. Crude back to the upside, 0.8. Yeah, not a lot happening so far today in crypto land. A few things we mentioned in the pre-market. We're talking about Facebook. Very, very strong so far this week. Bit of a choppy start. There was a story out of Australia regarding Meta. Heads up on Meta, trying to make it move back to the upside. Moderna, super strong as well. They're going to apply for another dose or approval for another dose in the U.S. Tesla as well, I mentioned. U.S. sales much stronger than anybody else on the EV side. Guys, back over to you.
I'm going to kick myself over that one.
We're going to.
I had the top, hit bid when I thought on GameStop, thought I was bidding 91s and was actually punching out at 92.5. So I'm going to be kicking myself over this trade. But that's, look, so the way our system is coded, I'll show you this really quickly because it bears explanation. If I had this up and I was watching FTX, so it's going to be on that stock. So if you look at the level one price of any stock, right? Like this is level one. This is your drop down quote. my keys are set up, or our keys are usually defaulted. If you hit the bid key, the price will come out at whatever is quoted at the level 1. So if there's any kind of a quote issue, and you intend and you think you're hitting a certain price and then sort of scrolling up and down off of that, and it ends up being wrong, like if the bid is too high and you think you've gone down, you could still be punching the bid. And it's on me because I still hit the enter key, and it did fire out at 82.50. So that's definitely on me there. But sometimes you've just got to be a little bit slower. You got to calm yourself down, because that's not going to age well. I'm not going to be happy about it, but this is going to happen to you from time to time. I was watching NVIDIA, and clearly, don't get me wrong, like I have Micron long, and it's working. But if you see what's going on with NVIDIA now up $15, bottom to top, 5.5%. I mean, it's 5.5% is the best way to think about it. And AMD retaking the highs at 113. 115 is a big level on AMD, by the way. And I'm sort of sitting here saying, counter trend. Well, it wasn't a counter trend sort of thing. I get Micron, and that can't break through 80. So Micron finally did play catch up. But with the market, we just got to 44 on the ES. You're now green on the NASDAQ, and everything booming. What I'm trying to get at, and I'll execute first, is I'm getting out of the Micron trade because it's still down 1.2%. It was lagging the entire way. I don't really know why. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I guess if it comes back down to 78.50, we'll take it. But just going to take the W where it lies. I'm not sure why it's lagging so much. It probably has. I mean, it obviously has to do with options expiration, but specifically, I'm not sure. So I'm going to take it out. Just take the trade and run. And for those of you that are watching that Moderna, it's right back to that 180 level. I still think it's in that harsh upward trend. If you shorted the 180 first time, it worked out. Again, my level was 78 from the daily chart. Now it's come and gone. I'm not going to revisit this one unless we're talking about like 190, 170 to 175 maybe for a dip, and then 200 would be the obvious levels. And Tesla going parabolic. This market is now screaming to the upside at this point. So I just took off the one last long I had because it's now gotten parabolic enough that either it's going to be a play if it's a trend, I want to play dips next, or we can find something at a ridiculous level, and one of those might be Tesla 900.
Yeah, this market is honestly like starting to go a little too ham for your boy right now. We actually tried to get back into SoFi, and because we did have a wick off top, and I wonder if we just did it again right there. But SoFi, wow, so strong. We wanted these shorts, and we were able to take money on the second leg of this short, but we are going to be negative on that. Don't tell me we just made the top there. Maybe we did, and that's what we were looking at here. But the market just keeps on blasting up here, and like normally I'm long. It's just this is what happens. Like sometimes you get sell day Fridays and stuff like that, and not today. It seems like it's big time aggressive on Friday to the north side, just continuing its march, man. The NASDAQ was down earlier. Now you're nicely up, man, up 0.5. I don't know if anything came from, well, I guess 4 minutes ago, Xi says confrontations not in interest of anyone. Okay, so that's good. So President Xi in China, I guess, saying he doesn't want confrontations. Well, okay, well then hopefully he steps up and says something a little more aggressive directly to Russia about that. But okay, 39, 38, 37. I don't know, man. Rivian, we took another short there. We did cash some out. And this is what I mean. Like that's an 80 and then we're out 50. Like it's still 30 cents worth of a win, but we're still holding on to the majority of this trade. Like I'm not believing this move today, but just because I don't believe it doesn't mean it's not happening. Markets don't lie, and I keep saying that, and the move is to the upside. We should already be long Facebook, man. As soon as, and this is a trade that I'm, quite frankly, if I wasn't thinking short, what a different day this would be, because that Facebook break of 208, wow, like it took down that 208. Sure, it was a little bit choppy, but it only went against you to 207.50, and then it ripped to 210.50. So yeah, Facebook, hopefully things pull back, but it just doesn't look like it. There's Rivian clocked out there at 44.50. What's up, Brendo?
The Chinese name, guys, BEKE, we mentioned earlier in the week. Heavy call volume being reported on this. So a huge pop there right through to day highs on this one as well, now 8.5%.
Just remember, when I traded Pinduoduo, BEKE was crazier than that stock. I remember pointing it out that I said I should have had BEKE as good as Pinduoduo was yesterday. That was a better one. This consolidation in NVIDIA here with the market getting to 14.2, and it's because the NASDAQ's at 14.2 that I want to sit in that consolidation, because if it breaks out from there, you have corresponding levels. You have the even dollar out, you've got that corresponding 14.2 level, and that I should have said that in the context of Micron as well. Like you were approaching those highs, and it was going to break higher, but it was just relatively weak. So obviously it has to turn at some point, but I might have got out of that one too early. It's got to that 80 level, and PIK, which we got away from, I said once it broke out, I was looking for 750 to 8. Well, it just got to 750 at least one time there and pulled back while I was getting sort of like annoyed with GameStop. I don't even want to look at that until it gets to 100 because I think I might have actually had the top and gotten out for 20 cents on GameStop.
Yeah, I mean, again, more great comments coming from China here. You know, they don't want to see any conflict and blah, blah, blah. So I think that's great. I mean, you're seeing Boeing right now. We'll drop some cash down for Boeing. Boeing's been a great trade, man. We added this to the sticky note. We're now $3 in the money on this trade as it continues to make moves to the upside here, taking down those. I mean, and what we tweeted out was basically just this 190 area. As soon as we got above here, 190, 190, 190 right here, we did like the long. And then obviously the market's extending today. So as we still continue to climb to the upside, look at this. Ever since those comments, and it sucks because like I wish I would have saw them a little bit earlier, but yeah, it's just straight to the upside. Obviously, de-escalation is what this world wants. And I said, as soon as we get by this like wartime premium, this market has tons of upside. And here it goes, man. The moon is the next stop, Brendo.
Krishna Himir. Neil, thank you for FedEx and Micron calls. Thank you, Krishna. I'm glad to hear you're having a profitable day. And guys, again, please don't be lazy. Find less than a second and give us a like. Back to you guys.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, FedEx will be a frustrating one for me because you will go over all of these names. And what ends up happening is you might like 8 to 10 different things setting up or whatever it might be. You're not going to get into all of them. So far, just like getting into the losers, right? Like I got filled and got into position on all the setups that ended up not working. And you know, admittedly so, I bungled a keystroke on GameStop, and that's going to be part of it. But I never got FedEx. And on top of that, I never got U.S. Steel either. Like that's why I'm sort of coming back to this. It doesn't matter. Like I didn't get into U.S. Steel. I thought it was a fade on the pop at the open. I didn't have my order out, so I didn't get filled. Well, at least I wasn't aggressive enough in getting into this one. And Moderna, I get it. Dinesh, one of those things like it can still look.
Wow.
It can look like it'll work. Like if it breaks 180 here, and I said I wouldn't short 180 with that breakout on the daily chart, it can come back into view up. You got to be able to live with that sometimes. Like if it doesn't set up, you don't take it. And then sometimes the thing that you're like, oh, goodness, I should just jump back into it. I still like it. I believe in it. Sometimes that'll work out for you, but it doesn't always mean it's the right thing to do. I had a level I liked on Moderna. It got run over. Move on to the next. And I still think this is a pretty strong upward trend, and we're testing that 1420. It's the same thing with NVIDIA. The way to try to stay alive is when you find a little level like this, don't hesitate to get out. Like if NVIDIA flushes from there when you risk a buck, like you have a decent shot to be able to catch anywhere from $2 to $7 on that trade. But that's only reasonable going counter trend if you actually take the stop out there. If you don't take the stop out there on NVIDIA, it doesn't work for you. You got to walk away from that long, and I'm kicking myself over Micron because now it just wants to continue going. You know, obviously 14.2 does end up breaking. Now it decides to catch up with the rest of the market. It's still negative, by the way, Micron, and I'm not sure why that's going to be, but the chip names all now screaming to the upside. There was one that I meant to get to only have that Grom position because basically everything I've either taken profit on or taken the hit on, I'm now working with Grom. Global Foundries had that strong push up to 75 and then got to 76 and faded. It is not running with the market anymore. It's gotten to the 74, 75 range, and the volume is dying down. So, you know, at this point, if I have a long, I'd be sitting in it, but I'm going to be looking for the counter trend setups because that's the setup that's going to be there right now. It's going to be finding something relative or a resistance level. Everything that's broken out has already done so. Was that Brendan?
All right, more comments coming, guys. Xi saying all the right things, it would appear. Now saying China and the U.S. must shoulder due international responsibilities towards efforts in the direction of peace. So China saying, you know, what they need to, I guess, at this point to help everything, guys.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like Alibaba's too. Alibaba, I mean, we're just talking about some of these names. Like Alibaba's running like crazy. Check out NEO right now. I'm going to take this long. Like finally, it's been forever here. We're back to this 2050 area, which was right here. And it's just amazing. Like I talked about that war premium, you know, and like now it seems like it's off and this market is like, see you later, man. Just a monster move to the upside. Like we're going to take that break and honestly, like we're going to wait to see where it goes from here. Like back down to 20 maybe on the downside. Like I don't know. We're going to have to watch. But did we just get into that? Okay, so it breaks and comes back. But we are long NEO right now, breaking through that 2050. I just hope finally when I push long, it's not the very top of the day here. So we'll see if NEO wants to go. We are long right now at 2050. It's breaking. Look, if China's going to be like all friendly and buddy-buddy with the U.S., then it can only mean good things, right? So let's wait to see here what happens to some of these Chinese names as they're exploding to the upside today. BABA as well. BABA is ridiculous. That's up to 108 right now. Wow, up 8% here on Alibaba as the market keeps on screaming. And watch, you watch. I probably bought the top here on NIO.
So it's not that I don't believe it, but like I said, if something's going parabolic, the setup that's going to end up happening if you're not in the long is going to be finding levels. And that BEKE, which we should have looked at. I talked about it being crazier than Pinduoduo. And the reason why this is the biggest miss for me this week was I shorted 15 the day before and then came in and wanted to short on some of those Chinese parabolic names and didn't take that 1370 break and instead took Pinduoduo. Now it comes back to 15. It just put a break. It tried to get past the quarters. So that's the setup. It breaks 15 even, previous resistance, obvious resistance on the daily. Tries to get above, can't get past first level, which is about that quarter mark, makes a reversal. I shorted on the way back down, 97s off 50, 15. Stop is through the high of the day. If it breaks the quarters, I'm going to be out, so I'm risking 25 cents in slippage and just going to make that retracement. If we can get down to 1450, I'm definitely going to take some out in that range because that'll be close to that 1-to-1 area, which pretty much I'm always going to take some profit at that 1-to-1, and 14 to 1420 will take most of it out because holding the VWAP is usually the way that I like to play these, unless it's halted. If it's halted multiple times or halted a few times to that upside, then I think it can do that whole 10% move into the downside. That hasn't happened on BEKE. It's somehow managed to not halt despite breaking out at 1350, but it's a setup. I'm going to take it every time I see it, and there's enough liquidity or enough reason to get into it. So BEKE on a false break at 15 is a new position to the short side. If you're watching Tesla, I did mention that Tesla got to 900. I didn't get it. So this is sort of the thing. If you're looking at a BEKE or a PIC or one of those low float kind of crazy movers, it's hard to trade that and then want something else in the same moment that's a trade at a big level like a 900. So I did miss the chance to get 899s on Tesla. I'm not going to chase it or anything. Like it's sort of come and gone there, and I've decided that BEKE was going to be that next trade. So this is what I'm in. I just got first leg at 65, like I told you guys. Then I'll get some more at 40s and then 25s on the way into VWAP. So trying to make a little bit of back here, but there's no way that I can be happy about that day after what happened to me on GameStop. That's going to be a frustrating one. And Tesla, that pullback so far only $5. So the market's still looking relatively strong at this particular point. Usually you'd see a little bit more than that from Tesla. Brendo?
We saw Kodak, guys, pop up yesterday on some IMAX rumors that were floating around about midday. Here we go again. Another 10% here. It was about lunchtime yesterday. It started to go above 5 again here for KODK.
Okay, so just as fast as we went long here, I mean, the problem is I'm dug into so many other names here, guys. We reversed into the short. We're just now making money on NEO, so we actually lost on this trade, right? So, but now we're back into the positive on the reverse short, and this is what happens, man. We're like when we're here, we're just kind of going crazy every day, and it's like the bids, the offers. It's just like you're in the matrix here, filling through. So here we go. As you can see, we were in, but not for a long time there on the long. There's that punch long. Most of our worst out was 37 or so, but then we reloaded this thing, and I don't know, it's hard to see on a 1-minute chart, but here's all the outs. Like we went long there, we got out like 43, 44, 45, just because we noticed the market started to turn a little bit, and again, because the names are just exploding here, it was just one of those things where I was like, I didn't want to be long at the top of some of these names, because we're already had a firm at its highs. We already had Rivian at its highs, and all took it out, right? So at some point, it's like, like I had to switch over to the long, but right now we'll just try to empty out some of this. Now we've emptied out a lot of it and we're in the money on NEO now net-wise, so that's good for me. But here it comes right back down to the downside, a nice little 20-cent win. So you see how fast we have the ability to reverse, and that's what we talk about. Trade your game, because sometimes you miss some of our updates coming through, but I am now layered on the bid here. We'll take some 22s. I'm on paid gateways, like I'm on ARCA and BATS and all that stuff, so I want to make the rebates as there it goes, so as it comes through me. So that's what we're doing, getting paid to trade here on the downside. We did reload. So first of all, Boeing was a nice trade to the long side there. Our out is right here at 191, and thank God for StoneCo today, because if that would have gone the other way for me, then it just would have been disastrous, and I wouldn't have been able to like mentally handle it, because all my longs were working, and if this didn't and all my shorts got cracked, then yeah, I'd be like, wow, at least. And I don't normally trade these names, but a 13 break. Remember, we went short first, and then it was like, if it takes down an even level of 13, then we wanted to go long. So there we go. The short and out, the short at 1280 is a 20-cent hit. We did take a 15-cent win, but now you're 60 cents in the money, and we are net positive on StoneCo. So a good trade there, and that's why you clap out of NEO, man. A lot of that out there at 20, it just retraced all the way back to the upside here.
So we'll gotta hit some of the good keys every now and then. So we'll do the power-up key, because I don't play video games, but that's Super Mario, if you can't tell.
It is?
I just got next leg out. So a couple of things happened on BEK. So it got down to 1420, and I took this out here. And you're gonna see this wick up there? I sort of intended on putting a trail for some of these shares, and see that wick that goes up to 1470? That'll get some more shares out. So I was on the bid at 14 and then got trailed out of some more. Whatever. It's going to happen to you sometimes when you get these crazy wicks, because if you put a stop order in, some will trigger based on these dark pools that'll go off. But VWAP's starting to come in here, and there is one egregious, and I'm going to call it egregious. Like obviously, trading hits, that's sort of part of the ball game. You really don't get mad. If you got in where you intended to get in, and then you got out where you intended to, and it's a loss, that's fine. However, when I'm not even, and don't get me wrong, I went over my levels on Mullen today, and I had some ideas for it. I congratulate anybody that swung it. Yeah, there was some good swing levels on Mullen, but we can't hold overnight. Like, we're only really talking about those longs. That support at 2.25, yeah, that was pretty good. Like, I don't know why I didn't have anything on this off the long. And then it even makes the breakout as well, sort of taking out that 35 to 40 area, now making fresh highs. But like I always say, like, you can't, what's happened is happened. Like, it's gone. So I know nobody ever wants to hear it, but once it makes that kind of a breakout, you know the drill. Like, I'm really only looking for where can I short it. Now, you're not at that $3.70 to $4 on the daily, so $3 is the obvious price. If there's a lot on the offer at 3, I'm going to short that price. I think it'll be a crowded trade because everyone and their mother is going to be trying to short Mullen at 3, and there's probably going to be 500,000 shares. But if it gets there, I think that's that line in the sand. And look, if you're trying to take profit on the way up, there's no bad place to do it. But fading that 3 when it's giving you this much is not horrible. If you're just day trading, scalping, and I understand there's lots of people swinging off that $1.50, that's a different ball game. Although if you got the $1.50, and I know someone in this chat has 172 in particular, a double up ain't bad, and that's what you get close to at $3.
Man, I didn't even realize Rivian went all the way to $45. I've been just like obsessed with this. Holy shoot. Yeah, I'm obsessed with this NEO trade right now. We actually got that reload. Like, NEO is absolutely collapsing here on this. We got a reload back up there at 50, and I'm using a lot of shares. So that's why you're seeing like this craziness. But again, I should be not getting out as much, but I don't trust the short. But let's hold NEO right now. We have this name. Man, we're making a hell of a lot of money back. Not a green day, but yeah, wow. The market's falling. What a great reload that was right there. Let's get some 6s if we can. There it is. Wow. Just an absolute tank city. NEO, my #1 stock today, and motoring back down to the downside. Here goes NEO. So good reload there. Let's see, does this NASDAQ have it in it to keep upside today? We'll see heading into a Friday. Maybe the sell-off is here. Too bad we didn't hold anything. We got absolutely squanched, Neil. Is that the right terminology there?
Well,
off the open here.
Squanchy just squanches because his name is Squanchy. Like, squanch.
But did the market just squanch me on my shorts? Does that work?
Squanch is an adjective for anything for squanchy, good or bad.
So I got squanched.
Yes, you can say that, but it doesn't mean it was bad. If you got squanched,
but you said it can mean good or bad.
Exactly.
Right.
It's just it's
So my
one size
shorts
fits-
got squanched to the bad side. You have
Yeah,
to say
there
that
you
at the end. I'm gonna have to check out some Rick and Morty to find out what's going on here.
I love Rick and Morty.
Yeah, my kid has the, what is it, Mr. Pickle or something? He has his Mr. Pickle bathing.
Pickle Rick.
Pickle Rick bathing suit. There you
Anyways.
go. Anyways, Brennan's getting peed off because he's like squanched this. Let's go over to the big screen now and see some small cap recap. I got squozed.
Hey guys, yeah, a few to discuss here for small cap stocks this morning. Grom was on watch here. There was a little 165, 175 level from the daily chart that, I mean, it came into play very early, gave you a trade, quick trade off the open there down to just looking for a gap fill. Volume dying off on this one already, not terribly exciting. Not the case for PIK, however. Crazy scalping opportunity. For PIK, lots of executions between, I said 6, and then above that there's 8. Then if you squint hard enough, 650 was kind of a thing. Ends up being support there, so it gave you lots of long opportunities. I was looking for the long all the way up into 8 and then flip short, so now short on the way back down into 650. We'll see what happens at 650, where VWAP happens to be right now as well. So 650, and then 8 at the top for PIK, but crazy volume so far on that one, guys. Back over to you.
Crazy.
So you'll see me, like, I wanted to hit I got a BEKE in front of 14, so the 15 to 14 retrace worked. But then I took a look back at Avis, and now I'm just wanting to I want to kick myself because that was at 300 level. It spiked there at the open. Then it consolidated right lower. I don't know if you can show the chart, guys. Sorry. Yeah, got to 300. Anyways, you guys can
Chart,
see the
Lucas.
got to 300 bucks. Sorry. It's all good, Rob. Got to 300, then it consolidated immediately. Now it flushed twice. And this was more about just 2 days in a row. It got super parabolic and looking for the pullback. I got a mixed trade, like I scalped some out for like $5 or $6 and then got the hit back and was basically flat on car because it didn't follow through yesterday. And then today you actually get the 300 level test with double top and 300 even, and it pulls back in. And there was just nowhere to get, once you missed the first trade, there was no way to get into that trade. There's nothing you can do about it. I got out of like that BEKE, so I'm looking for the next thing. And if it's Tesla, it's Tesla. It did bounce once off 900 already, now putting in some lower highs. Still pretty bullish. At this point, like, we've established a pretty wide range. Like, it's 200 points in NASDAQ, which can happen on witching day. And if we do pull back, I'm almost thinking that 14, forget about 14, that 14.1. So if you're looking for dip buys, and particularly the one I'm watching here is Micron double top pulling back. You start thinking about that 14.1 level, what it coincides with. If it's VWAP, it's VWAP. If it's 800, it's 800. AMD, in a similar vein, is already pulling back here. So think about Micron. AMD pulling back off the highs, NVIDIA already pulling back on the highs, the future's trying to pull back off the highs, and Micron, which was lagging the whole way, is now just sort of sitting there at those highs. So as I watch that, yeah, I don't think I'll be too aggressive trading Micron. I was able to get the win there, but something about that is not making a lot of sense to me. And when it doesn't make sense, you can walk away. I'm going to trade AMD in the chip space for the rest of the day because it seems to at least be following the futures a little bit more. And when you get that kind of a divergence, you're not forced to trade it. And Micron, I think I'm lucky to have had the win. I got out too early because I thought it was relatively weak. Now we can think about AMD, not just off of VWAP or off of the 111 level, but also off of 14.1 and 1400 on the NASDAQ. Wherever those curls are, I'm going to want the AMD long. Brendo?
Just reading a note on Abbott Lab, guys, not terribly exciting trade, but just made a move to the downside there. Apparently the FDA has authorized another over-the-counter COVID-19 test for the U.S., so that would step on some of their territory, I guess, for the time being. So 122 is the top there, coming back in a bit for ABT.
All right, we are getting a nice move downside, so we're making a little bit of cash back here. Obviously, Affirm's going to be the big daddy for me. It needs to get back to the downside. If it doesn't, then we can't do anything. This was down to 37.20. Remember when the 50 period in the VWAP was like down here, and it's like now it's just grown with the stock. Obviously, that's how it works, but this is so strong. We're hanging out upside right now, and this is probably going to get cracked. So if we get down up here to 39.66 or so, Affirm is going to come out. So there's only so much of this we can handle. I don't even want to look back. I mean, maybe we can look back at SoFi. I might just take another piece here in the 70s if we can get it. I don't want to hold. I have too many shares to hold this all the way back another $1 against me. So there we go. We take out a little piece of a firm right there at 70 and see if it can fall back down in. We do have a monster, an absolute beast on right now for NEO. We're almost out of it all. We got a little scared when it came back up there. I put another reload at 44, but that doesn't look like that's going to come through. I am bidding 04 right now. But why am I bidding 04? Just bid 8s and see if we can get 8s right now. And then we'll see. There it is. So now we'll see if it can take out $20 to the downside NEO. And again, we identified it. We initially went long for sure. We lost our 4, 5, 6 pennies there. And I was like, oh man, we made the top wick. Good thing that analysis was somewhat right, because, you know, we're able to get short again twice. And now all of a sudden, like, I don't trade it at all until it hits these levels. And then now it's my number 1 stock, which is fine. But while Stone Cold's good as well. But as far as the net wise, I guess Boeing, the only long that I had early, is, you know, going to be a top stock for me, but it did tick out there at 193. That's a level that we could have looked at. We liked Boeing today. Why? Because it started the day above this 190. So when you're looking here at a 20-minute chart, which I like to do for these sort of daily levels, here's 190 right. Okay, well, hold on, I gotta let it load maybe now that I've extended this, but the talk is the same. And it's just that, like, once you get above some of these daily levels, which this is 183, we're looking right, so the same thing down here at 183. Once we took out these levels, look, it stayed up, right? So here's 190 right into here. So taking out that 180, 190 the top in the last 2 days. Once we open up above that, it gives us that support. And that's what we needed. We needed that support to 190, and then there's that fill that we got real early on Boeing as the market opened, basically. We take it into us. So we take a 191, and then there's that 190 flat fill. So as the market's trying to pull back a little bit, I think, Boeing is coming back in, but remember, this is the NASDAQ that I'm looking at, so not the S&P. The Boeing doesn't really care about the NASDAQ, so, you know, it's going to trade by its own, but again, the NASDAQ is following the ES. The ES is only up 0.8 right now. NASDAQ up 0.7. So there's a lot more aggressiveness here in the NASDAQ. So watch out for some of those names like ARC, which I'm short all these ARC names, and it's just not working out right now on that side.
Speaking of ARC,
Yeah.
I did get into Tesla there, just tried to test 900 one more time. It got 899.50 the first time. This time it got to like 898 and change. I got a 97.85 short. I'm going to get some out 1-to-1 and then, you know, below that, probably about $5 to $6, and then see if it can maybe make it to VWAP. It was asked in the chat, someone just said if I think PIC is going to $8. So I'll give you the bull case for it because the volume's really tapering off here. And a lot of times when it made a run to 750, which was a price that I liked. I didn't take the trade, and then pulls back into VWAP with volume dwindling down. What you want to look for would be holding that morning support, and this time it's a little bit higher. I know it's extended a lot, but there's going to be profit takers if it breaks, I think, VWAP here. And that's because if you've got the 3 long, or even if you got the pre-market long off of that 430, 440 level, I think if you're sitting in those trades and you get a 650 break, there will be some profit takers at around those prices. So, you know, you need volume to pick up, but if that breaks, you're looking for 550 to hold. And if it can hold these pre-market lows down here at 550 all afternoon, then it's got a secondary run in it. So there is a bull case if it breaks 650 to still run, but it has to hold that 550. I'm not touching it unless it's 550 or 8. Brendo?
Just looking at Lucid here, guys, up another 3.5%. Just came off pretty hard, though. 26 back to 25. Remember yesterday we were talking about price hikes, or they were talking about price hikes. So also in the works for Lucid. Huge volume, though, back on the downside there came in for LCID. Another week or so before Europe gets their time change in the books for this year. So still a couple of hours left for the session over in Europe. Ms. V, what's happening over there?
Hey, Brandon, European markets are slightly down, but set for their best week since November 2020. Vodafone trading in London is trading higher on reports that global infrastructure funds is going to invest in its mast company, Vantage Towers.
Yeah, a bit of a choppy session to wrap things up here for the week as well for the U.S. markets, guys. I mean, the U.S. kind of stalling out back at break even once again.
Oh man, yeah. Look, it's been a stumble day for me on the shorts, but what a great week, man. I mean, this has been a fantastic week. We talked about it, like literally rewind the clock 7 days, and I said there is a very, very good chance that this week is very, very positive. And it's just, you know, sometimes the Fed comes through and they just want to, like, you know, kind of ease the pain a little bit. You have Bullard and some other guys out there that are a little bit more hawkish. And so I just felt like that was going to be the call. And then I thought today might be the day where people are like, hey, I'm going to sell the NASDAQ today because of the run it's been on. And it just hasn't happened. So, you know, when that's your outlook, sometimes you got to sort of, you know, what do they say? Lay where you, whatever, lay your head where, I don't know what the saying is, but, you know, that's what I'm doing, kind of like digging my own grave on the shorts. And now they're starting to come in, but at the same, okay, Neo, wow, like, oh, darn it. I could have made everything back on this short with the amount of shares that I had. But again, you know, we're only holding now like 10%. Damn, like what the? We talked about trying to hold something for bigger moves, but again, holding short today has really punched me directly in the mouth. So I'm not surprised that this is coming to the downside, but here we are into this trouble. We are now 50 cents in the money on this Neo trade. I'm going to put a bid at 93 here, but unfortunately, you know, I just don't have enough shares to make this really, you know, a big monster trade. But hey, it's my number one stock. It's a good one. And of course, I bid 93 and it goes right straight ahead. Like I put the bid on the bid. You know, I put my shares on the bid, and then it rips up 10 cents. So, you know, go figure. But that's kind of commonplace, as you know that, Neil, especially on some of those low runner stocks. Like, even if you have 500 shares sometimes, it's like now it comes right back down.
Well, you know what?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think you know what. Well, we both kind of know what that is. Like it's actually not about the amount of size sometimes you put in there. It's simply like a new order entry that the algos. It's an active order that the algos sort of just jump in front of in the heat of the moment. One of the things you can do if you ever see us put orders out ahead of time when we know we like a level, it's because if it's falling or running to that price level and there's no new order entry, sometimes you don't get that same front running and you can get picked up a little easier if you're already sitting out there because liquidity gets hunted as it moves to it. I just got first leg out on Tesla, so we'll hit this one. I'll keep using the basketball one, even though my bracket sucks. Good luck, Michigan State. You're going to need it. I love you, but it's going to be trouble for you guys. SoFi, we got asked a couple of times about SoFi. Everything is up, so like, let's just get that out of the way. The breakout, clean, pretty gorgeous at $9 if you have it on there. I always look for where prices it runs away from.
Holy shit.
So you look at the open back on, I guess it was last Friday when this fell, and a lot of things did this on Friday, but that 950 level, you see that turn there? There's a big, big channel that it has to get through. And even if it were to break 950, then that to about $10 is a world of chop. And choppy is dirty, but if it gets into that channel, that's a great base for the stock. If SoFi gets into this consolidation, you're now broken back 750 and gone a quarter of the upside. If it can hold that consolidation level for like days, weeks, who cares? And then break out of it, form a nice base, that thing can go gangbusters for sure, but it's only getting there now parabolically. So you have to calm down at least a little bit. Like I know it's a great run this week, but there's a lot of names that still have some work to do, and that's an example of SoFi. It needs to churn through that next level before I think you get too excited about the next move. And as I say that, there we go. I can hit another key. I'll go back to the minute chart because I got to get to Tesla here. We just got the next leg out on Tesla. So I'm not going to pretend this is a great day for me because I made a big keystroke error that's going to bungle me on GameStop overall. But Tesla, we talked about the next level. Tesla 900, I missed it the first time because I was trading BEKE at that moment. It actually gave you the second look off 900. My next out is going to be in front of VWAP, that 885 on the 15-minute. But let's not forget something, right? Sure, that worked, but where I liked it, the same sort of idea on NVIDIA, you have the tighter stop. So you can make those plays, but when it takes out the top, you just get out. And you got to be able to do that. Because I could have held NVIDIA. Like NVIDIA, if I just held it for the last half an hour, would be now back at the money. But I'm not going to operate that way. Like it's kind of crazy. And I didn't see anything about that level up there that would have said short. And as a matter of fact, it's not like NVIDIA is rolling further over as it gets back to 260 here, or 259, 260. So either way, you've got to be able to pick your poison when you can. Micron is pulling back, yet somehow not pulling back further. For the life of me, I'm probably going to have to do some thinking about what I was doing with Micron. I know it's a winning trade, but I look back and always say when in doubt, zoom out. I sort of look back at this and look at exactly what I was just talking about with SoFi. When you break out and get into this channel, yeah, Micron can't break this 80 to 80, 50 channel. And when it was relatively weak, the whole morning I'm saying it's relatively weak, at no point after I got out of this trade did I come back and look at this 80, 50 to 81 on Micron. Because there's no way I'm shorting NVIDIA when I look at the 15-minute and see Micron, which was already weak this morning, that should have been the chip name to be shorting at that top. So when in doubt, zoom out. That's a big mistake by me. Sometimes you get a bit of a bias because the position you had was a long in it, but you look at that 15-minute chart, and Micron was a more sensible fade because this 80.50 to 81 is not a random price when you pull it back. There's an obvious level to short, and maybe it goes to VWAP.
Yeah, we got taken out of that SoFi, yeah, that was a good short there at the top. But again, when you're holding a firm, Rivian, SoFi, Stone, all these names, man, you're just too exposed sometimes to that. But we did get out. What's up to Henry, man? Thank you so much again. We know that you love your Palantir and you love the 420. So where's my little 420 thing here? I'll hit it. There it is. And I don't know. I'm not going to confirm any leaked deals with Palantir when I have Brendan sitting over there.
I was going to say.
Yeah, he's going to find out if there's anything to this on Palantir. But again, if it's leaked, just because you see it on Twitter and things like that, let's just find out who the source is, and Brendan will have a look at that. But regardless, man, Palantir had a nice day today. We got up to $13, but again, Kathy, everything was bouncing today like mad. So a nice little move up to $13 for Palantir. The last time we bought this was $12.05. It's now moving back up to the upside. It's just one of those names that I continue to like. They have so many deals in defense. I mean, you just talked about Lithuania. They have immigration, tons. They have even water deals, weapons deals, everything like data, analytics, things like that. So Palantir, let's see where it can go. I still like the name. A company that's been around for 20 years. The only problem is you're not making money and you're that old. I don't know if this environment is right for you. And we have talked about that over and over on the show. So just be careful with your Palantir trades. It could still fall, man, on valuation. So I'm not super excited about it, but I like it. Affirm did come back down. I mean, I'm super excited about Palantir. These levels, I don't know. We'll have to wait to see if it can get above. I think it was that 14 area. We'll do some more work on Palantir after. I just have too many other positions. So Affirm right now made that move down to VWAP, and we cashed out. So we're going to go, but we still need to go to the downside here, and hopefully that will continue. The NASDAQ is bouncing right now. So it's trying to figure out what it wants to do at the 50 period. We are nowhere near 14,000. I mean, if we retest it, it's 170 points down. So it's a big move up for the NASDAQ today. I still feel like this is a profit-taking situation, being up 0.4, so I do expect a further move down. And look what just happened, man. Wow, the market's not red, but we'll hit red for NEO as that continues to move to the downside. This has been by far, I almost feel like the same way I do this one about that last Palantir trade that I had on Fed Day. Like, we loaded this up twice, man, on the upside. Like, we were long and then we got out. We loaded the short there, hit it. Then we loaded it again. And now we're trying to hold something. But again, we don't have any shares left. And that's really the sad thing. I had no inclination that this move would happen all the way back down here. If anything, I thought 20 were good outs. So that's where we got a lot of these shares out at, right into here. Right between 20 and 2010 is where we got a lot of them out. Really, it's between 20 and 2020. We got most of these shares out, but what a good move down. Shout out to Dinesh, who said his target was 19. Well, if that's your target, then tickle me pink, because I'm not going to be, seen as not taking profits. I got hit early, holding on to the shorts. Now everything is printing, man. Like, look at this Rivian. Like, give me a break. I get out right there at 44.50. Like, we'd be in the money now. It's my biggest loser net-wise of the day is Rivian because of that damn print right there. But if we don't get out at 44.50, guys, it goes to 45.50 before stopping. So we were $1, literally stopping on the penny there. We were $1 away from, possibly getting absolutely destroyed. So I'm happy with the out because of where it went, but I'm not happy that we don't have any more reloads up here. Just too obsessed with the other trades. Should have looked at that. We've made back a lot of money. We're still red for the morning, but wow, what a move back down holding some of these shorts.
Yeah, I just cleared out of the Tesla trade, and at this point, it's like, hey, I'm just taking the win, and I get it. Like, this could be a double top, and it heads to 875, but I'm not, after this week, like, betting against the market catching a bid here is not a play that I plan on making, right? Like, Stone Cold didn't work out, Affirm didn't work out for me, and obviously it's, when you take the hits, you can have your paper cuts and then try to turn green on the day. But I only tweeted one thing out today. A lot of times when it's really active, it's a little bit harder to. But I'm going to come back to, the important thing for me is after bungling GameStop, because it went 90 in and out at 90, we can accept that. and then it went to that 92.5 and pull back into 90. That's usually that curl trade I'm looking for, and that's me like a chump getting out for, like I said, about 50 cents. So that would have been like, okay, you take those hits so that you can get back and then be green on the stock, and then I completely bungle it. And the way to recover from that, usually I say, is to not trade that stock again, because I could have just gone right back and looked at 95, but it's like, you know what? Sometimes it's better off to just say, I'm more likely to make a mistake again on it. I'm getting emotional about the fact that I bungled that last trade on GameStop. So I went away from it and then traded a couple of other things. I will say that, and Tisha was mentioning BKE. I think I got out too early on BK, but I always say that. Like, you just saw me take out Tesla at VWAP, and you see me take out BKE at VWAP. I just find with these types of names that banking the profit there overall in the long run works out a lot of times. I can show you a chart of Mullen a lot of times where it's like, yeah, you try holding for more, half of it for more, and then just watch it bounce at VWAP and then take out the high in the afternoon. So I'd rather just walk away and run, be close to flat at lunchtime if I can, and then reassess. As we go to an interesting board, because the market turns green, and Sector Watch is going to show you a pretty mixed board there.
Yeah, basically flat overall for the S&P right now. We are still just ever so slightly negative on the day. We'll talk about tech stocks here in a second, but it's basically tech and healthcare showing some strength, and then everything else offsetting that to the downside. So the market basically flat. There's FedEx off their report, down just 4%. UPS beside it there getting dragged along with it, down about 1.5%. But industrial stocks are in negative territory. NVIDIA having a nice day, up 5% on the day. Some of the other major chip makers, there's AMD and QCOM, only about 1 to 1.5%. So AMD relatively strong. SEDG down 4. Software names are strong. Hardware names are basically flat. But overall, as I said, tech leading as far as strength. Banks are offsetting that back to the downside. So banks leading as far as weakness is concerned. There's individual travel names here popping up as well. LVS and Wynn, to name a few, 3%, almost 2% there for Wynn. Tesla as well, 2.8%, very, very strong. Etsy over here, 3.75%, but the rest of the retail group relatively weak on the day, as I was mentioning. A few names in the communications group again today, some social media stocks showing strength. There's Facebook, there's Twitter, 1.9 and 2.6 to the upside. Everything else, though, little changed, guys, as is the market. Negative 0.04 right now. Back over to you.
All right.
I was just sort of mentioning to Sean, their global foundries, and I said I would yesterday, but so I said I would sell some yesterday because I thought it was getting a little bit top heavy, and I didn't. But then on top of that, I was day trading it too, and a lot of times I just really try to avoid that. But it's back at that 75 level. It's up 3% again today, all-time highs. It's a new IPO, but they still don't make coin yet. I think they're going to get profitable, and I love the foundry play in general, but. Wow, parabolic, a lot of times you see parabolic multi-day moves, and it's never a bad idea to sell it, I kind of find. But we'll see what happens. I probably will sell some. Oh, come on, daily chart on Tesla. There's that ugly wick. So in the context of this Tesla move, another reason why, and I should have said this the first time through, why it's like get out in front of VWAP there, that 885 level, because VWAP also lined up with that recent top. So remember we were talking about Moderna? Like Moderna, once it broke that 178, it's in a breakout stage. So to me, it's scalp shorts. It's not a hold to short all day long because it's a jailbreak on the 15-minute chart here once you get past that 885 level to that 900. So the last thing I want to do is look a gift horse in the mouth. It didn't just give you a 900 test and pullback. It then decided to give you an entry off 900 again after the ES had and both the NASDAQ and the ES had pulled back off the highs, and it still gave you this trade. So you take that one and you run. I don't like it might want to fall further from here, but just bank the profit, man. That's what you want to be able to do. I just want to come back over to Mullen if I can. If I get into another trade at this point, like it's got to be pretty key. Mullen didn't get to that $3 level, and someone when I mentioned it the last time was like, I'm promoting a Mullen short. Okay. Look, if it gets to $3, I'm going to short it in front of $3. We're just talking about what we're going to do as day traders and what we see. I think it's bullish at this point, and I don't have a long entry. If I did have one, it would have been off 225 like we said yesterday, and I just wasn't looking at it at the open, so I'm not making the trade. I didn't get it. So congratulations to everybody that did. I'm not chasing it up here. I think the next play for me is either can I find support back in front of 2 to 2.25 and buy there as a day trader, or am I waiting for it to get to 3 and maybe there's a million shares on the offer and I get a 97 short and scalp 15 to 20 cents off of it. Like, that's what I'm looking for as a day trader. But for those of you that were inquiring about the stock in the long term, like that 150 to 170, you got that one to the long side. I don't think anyone's really seriously considering taking profit unless you get a breakdown at 50 or we actually test that 3. 275 kind of feels like a no man's land for me that I wouldn't want to touch. Brendo?
SPTN just popping up, Spartan Nash, a food producer. There's activist chatter floating around on the internet, guys. So SPTN, heads up.
STTN, okay. We are into a new position now. What was that Facebook buy? 202. Yeah, that's not happening. Okay, a firm just ripped up. We tried to get short there. It didn't hit us, 39.20. So we're going to take a short into that one if we can as well. Here's the Facebook trade. So, and again, it comes back down in. We know Facebook is pretty strong. Didn't even notice that 210, but it stopped at 210, took out the 50 period. So I like that trade. We'll see what it does down here. If it does break back down and makes new bottoms or things like that, or takes out this 209, obviously we'll be gone. We're going to get out of here if it takes down 210.50, which is where the 50 period is. But I'm just going to take out a quick piece here at 28. Why not do that quickly if we can on Facebook, and then just try to hold the rest for that monster win. So there it is right there. We'll see about it. Oh, and then someone said earlier, what does reload mean? This is exactly what it means here on StoneCo. So StoneCo comes in here. I can't do a better example. We take the shares again right here. So here's StoneCo out, all the way up here. 1360, we held that 5%. It came back in. I think it was 10%. It came back into these VWAPs. That's part of the reason why I hold as well. I like to hold for the big move. Like, I don't know, that 1380, that would have been nice. But I like to hold for the big move. But also, it was showing me that my position was almost back to flat. So I was like, okay, I'll take more. So we take a 13.13 and then right away out at 26. I tried to get out once I saw that that was the top, including being right here. So we are now at the 50 period, trying to get some 28s, which we might get right now. Sorry, it's at 30, so I'm going to leave it at 30. Don't want to jinx myself. We're going to wait for 30s now on STNE. Here it comes. I should have said, I said 28s. You watch where this thing stops now, probably 28. But there we go. A nice little trade. So we're going to wait for 30s. Hopefully that can come out. A quick 15 cents on Facebook just to take something out there. We are still holding majority short. Like my biggest position right now, I mean, and look at that. This is the saddest thing because Rivian is my biggest loser, but now it's came right back in, and that would have been such a cash spot for me. But we're going to try to hold that a little bit more. And Affirm, again, we're trying to get a little short. This one, we're not going to hold too much past 50. So if Affirm takes off above 50 here, then we'll get out of this name and yeah, just be wrong on this today as well. But there's a whole bunch of cashes right here. Affirm is not that bad for me today, but again, when you start the short early, and this is in me, this is like, why am I short here at 927, then again at 931? When I clearly said at the beginning of the show, do not get into anything too early. It worked out fine on Boeing, but as the market rips up, man, patience is always going to be key, and that's something that I need to work on, self-admitted patience.
Well, so I'm not absolving that because I don't think I was patient enough either. So that's the first thing. However, someone, I think, I forget who was in the chat just now sort of talking about a US deal. I did get into Global Foundries finally. It pushed higher, closer to 75. It was at 74.20, and 75 was the level I liked. So it had to get closer for me to get the short. But I missed US Steel today, and I look at the shorts that I liked, and to not have US Steel, that kind of sucked. It reported it. You almost never trade it unless it's reporting. At least I don't. And it gave you that chance to get in. I never got it. And the same thing happened where it wasn't about aggression, but it gave you the spike up and it consolidated. This is the problem. It consolidated there for 15 minutes. For 15 minutes before this rolled over on US Steel, I could have had that short. And just because I missed that spike to get that perfect price that everyone wants to get that best price. Like you short it, at the high and you get long on the dip. But if you like it, sometimes you just got to be able to get into it. And it's the same thing with CAR. Right? I just was not nearly aggressive enough because it spiked up to 300. This was that maybe it's only 2 or 3 minutes, but there was an ample opportunity to catch this at 97 and 98, and I didn't get it. So those are 2 names that were on the list that I liked, 2 days in a row on Avis, and I didn't get. So you can be patient, but to a point. when the setup is there, the pop to 300, there was time to get into it. And that was, I think, for myself, on witching, there's a lot of things in play, and I was watching too many of them at the same time. And that's why I would end up missing out on it. Global Foundries, like I said, off 75. It's also a double top. Market's starting to come back in here. I'll take some out in front of 74 because that's 1-to-1, and then some out in front of VWAP. But this one worked at about this time yesterday, so I'll just go ahead and sort of play with the same playbook. It's not too crazy here. It doesn't do a ton of volume, so you do have to watch out a little bit. But right around, like, you know, right around this time, it rolled over off of those highs and really came down hard. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, I got out at 73 on the short yesterday, only to watch it go to 70 on a full retrace. I'll do the same thing again today, which is get out too soon, because that's the way I'm going to make the play down into VWAP. At 73 is going to be the ultimate target as well. But GFS, we'll see what happens with it. It has been strong the last 2 days, but this market's starting to roll back over.
So I just got scared, quite frankly. I didn't want to roll the dice with Facebook. So the market cracked lower there, below the 50 period. I went long Facebook right around here. The market cranked down to 14,150. Looks like it wants to start to head lower. So honestly, on that Facebook trade, just in case you're wondering, it's a completely flat trade. Like, it's just, I got in there, we took that 20 cents, and then we got out of the rest. That's it, right here on those breaks. 11, like we were long at 11.11 or so. Our outs is 98 and 94, and then that take is 28. So it nets out literally exactly even. That wasn't planned. It was just as it was crashing down. Like, see what
they fall off.
It's because this shirt is brand new. But anyways, we didn't want to roll the dice with Facebook. We got out of that one there. And yeah, I've already asked about new clips for these. Like,
I hate the clip.
I guess the other shirt was just a little thicker, because this is just like, it just slides up and down here. These mics are like 5 pounds each. Like, but we'll figure that out. All right, without any further ado, let's go over to Brendo at the big screen with Money Talks.
Hey guys, busy week for currency markets. Let's have a look at today's action. We are higher over here on the US dollar once again, bouncing off 98. It's been a level going back a month or so ago. The euro on the other side of the scale, 0.6 to the downside, still on track for its best week in 6 weeks for the euro today. Back to 110.25 though. The Canadian dollar, almost 80 cents we got to early on this morning. 79 and change right now, 79.25. British pound to the downside today. Japanese yen, Swiss franc. They were both positive. Swiss franc has since gone negative. Same story for the rest of the board, essentially all in positive territory. Not doing much for cryptocurrencies past couple of days. Bitcoin though, guys, holding 40,000 still. Back over to you.
I mean, it's holding 40,000, but it's just not.
Strong.
It's super strong. Don't get me wrong. Like, I like the fact that sometimes when it's stable, right? Like the lack of crazy volatility sometimes can be a good thing for it. But I'd like to see with this rip that we're having, like maybe it would participate a little bit, because it's been a bit of a risk asset. So I've been patiently waiting for Mullen. It holds up pretty nicely. It goes up. If this was 96 or 97, I'd be in the position already. It got to 93. When that happens, I'm usually looking for, okay, it's pressing. It's going to get there. It's so strong. And then this happens. So the consolidation off of $3 looks like it's going to be at 88 to 89. And the only way to play that, well, I shouldn't say that. The way that I would approach it, because instead of getting into it at like 93 to 98 for like a 95 or 96 price, in this particular case, like if you're starting on the consolidation, you're like, it's twice the amount of risk in penny weight in terms of pennies. So maybe you just take less shares and make the risk the same thing. So if the consolidation's there, it did test $3, and then you have the consolidation going sideways. I actually thought like right here was going to make that push and give you 95, 96, 97. It never happened. So I just got 87s here. I'd only add to it if I'm getting in the 90s. Like 92 to 97, 98 in front of that $3. I think on a $3 break, you're probably having to give it at least 2 or 3 cents anyways. So at this point, it's now like 15 cents worth of risk if you got everything at that price, which is not, when you're going parabolic like this, I don't love that, because that's essentially 1-to-1 to the 75 level, which is why it has to really test that top for me to want any more shares. GFS is the only other position I'm in. That just tested 75 and rolled over. I'd already added to the position anyway, so really not going to do any adding there. And I'm not moving my target. The first level is going to be that 74 close to VWAP. Well, it should be 74.20. Bump that one up a little bit. get in front of 74.20, and then VWAP, and from there it'll be 73s. So just make a quick adjustment on my orders for those two. And then we talked about Micron. I still feel like there was a missed opportunity. It's right back at those levels. So the market trying to roll over. Micron was just relatively weak all morning. So on that channel in the 15-minute, it's at that price. I'm going to take the shot. But if it gets through 81, I'm all out of that one. Only about 3 or 4 minutes to go until we send you guys over to the midday show with Trader Pratt and Miss V. And of course, we'll be back at 2 o'clock. Crazy action. Quad witching isn't just increased volatility and volume at the open. It's even more so at the close. So you want to stay tuned and make sure you're watching the closing show today.
So we'll just, there's a firm, it takes out the high and we get out. So we tried one last time there to average back into some of these trades. And again, this trade isn't that bad. It's just more the early averages in, and we talked about that as we go. So a firm unfortunately takes out the high. And why be in this now? We'll stop and we'll just wait to see if it does. I still like a firm short. Don't get me wrong. It's just, you know, maybe we need to wait now for it to get to 43, 44. I mean, I just can't keep holding this. But the thing about it is we actually went the other way here on Softy. So this is a good, oops, that's Facebook. Microsoft's a nice little long there. We noticed that this was a little bit weaker. We're just going to start to take some out now. This was weaker in the market than the market, and we bounced off that VWAP. So now we'll take it. This wick sucks. If I can edit that, we'll edit that and come back. Oh, shoot, there's only 3 minutes left anyways. But we are long Microsoft now as it is Rip City. So that's a good trade for us. Let's go Softy. Let's go Brendan.
Heads up on ASTR, guys. Day highs here on volume on CNBC currently, ASTR. So heads up on ASTR. Let's go to Miss V for the day.
Hey guys, I hope you're having a wonderful morning and a great week so far. Thank you so much for 1,700 likes, and please don't leave without giving us your like. Join Prad and me right after to continue trading. I see super chat from American Cycling France in terms of Tesla, so please join our second show. We'll discuss Tesla, and happy National Sloppy Joe Day, everyone.
Sloppy Joe's. Yeah, that's one of my favorite skits from Saturday Night Live.
I love Sloppy Joes, but you know what kind of sucks is, like, all kids love Sloppy Joes. My daughter's just not into them, and I don't know why.
I don't know if my kids are.
It's messy, it's delicious, there's a bunch of sauce. Like, I don't know. I guess because it's not just all ketchup, but man, I could go for Sloppy Joes. Maybe it needs to be Sloppy Joe night tonight. Well, it's so easy to make them, right? So it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, I like a Sloppy Joe. We're not going to get it for lunch today because I doubt that's in the caterer's repertoire. And if it is, then they haven't given it to us.
I feel like there was one day when it was kind of a Sloppy Joe type of day with the caterers, to be honest with you.
Maybe an accidental Sloppy Joe.
Maybe it was just the quality of ground beef. But Google Lunch Lady Land on Saturday Night Live. It's with Chris Farley and Adam Sandler, and it's absolutely hilarious.
By the way.
My kids run around playing that song and video and everything in my house. It's like, hey, Google, play Lunch Lady Land or something, and they do it. I hope that.
You can't say that.
Yeah, so I don't know. Well, hopefully I can. My phone might start to do that in a minute now that it heard that. But yeah, hey, Sloppy Joe's. I guess there's no earnings coming through for Monday. We're kind of through earnings season right now. I've given up the ghost there on that Affirm trade. We're just going to watch Microsoft. We have been getting some out again here. It's been weaker, so if this market does turn around, I still do like a short, and I'm wondering about this break right here of 292 to the downside, especially if the market breaks. This Microsoft level of 292 probably doesn't hold. So watch out. We are long right now, 294.80, so it's 60 cents in the money, so we're all happy with that one. Our Neo trade has retraced back up a little bit, but hey, it's been a good day, man. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, I've made 171 fills. Rivian, if I don't have Rivian in Affirm, it's a positive day, but I have those, so it's a negative one, and honestly, there's not much I could do to get away from those. I wanted the short. They didn't come in today, and they run you over.
Yeah, like my hands on the keyboard today on GameStop were about as good as the stone hands of, I don't know, I was about to make, you know what, I was going to make a dig at a certain Blue Jay, but I'm not going to do that because that's cold. The Jays are back in season. But last thing, before you throw your midday show.
I took over 91.5 wins.
Easy. The Jays are winning the division.
Oh, I have that too. But
Bradley Taylor asked, when you're on a hot streak, do you continue trading? And my answer is you trade setups. If you have setups that work for you and that are there and you're good at trading that time of day and they pay you off, then you just trade them. But you don't trade because you're hot, right? Like, if you have a good reads, fine. If you have bad reads, I'd say you can back away from it, but don't just continue trading because you're hot. If you don't have setups at lunchtime, then don't take them. But if you do, then go ahead. trade setups, ins, outs. That's what it's all about. I'm going to take you guys over to Trader Pratt and Ms. V. Go get them.
Welcome to the greatest show on the internet. It's time for Miss V and Trader Pratt.
That's right, guys. Welcome, everyone. Happy Friday to you all. I hope you're having a fantastic day. A lot of stocks are moving, so I hope you take those opportunities. Smash the like button, and let's dive into what's moving, Prad.
100%. Yeah. Lots of moves happening. Obviously, I'm watching GME. I'm in absolute shock that GME is actually up after that report. You know, could be shorts covering, could be